It is only overshadowed by the games. So we all know that as of right now, the way Black Monday works, the drama of the offseason, coaches are fired, quarterbacks want out, guys are going to be free agents. That, for about the first half of the week, dominates the NFL news. Today, the story was Derek Carr says goodbye to the Raiders. By the way, didn't we already know that Derek Carr was gone with the Raiders? So all of a sudden this is news. But that's apparently how it works. And then later we'll have the games this weekend. So tomorrow everybody will be talking about the games and Super Wild Card Weekend, which I don't know how long we're going to continue the Super Wild Card for. It kind of feels to me like they're not going to go back to 6 teams per conference. So this is just what Wild Card Weekend is. But kind of the big story in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is doing Aaron Rodgers-like things. Are you going to come back, Aaron? I don't know. Do you want to come back to the Packers? I don't know. Do you want to play football anymore? I don't know. Do you want to make $60 million next year? I don't know. So Aaron Rodgers is meeting with the Packers today, yesterday, and I believe even the day before that. All these meetings about where the organization goes. Joel Corey at CBS wrote an article about how Aaron Rodgers' contract situation works. And you want to talk about a fake cap. This thing has turned into this thing has turned into the NBA, where it's like, they use a roster bonus instead of a signing bonus, and it kicks in on this date, and the Packers have to pick up the option. But if the Packers trade, they won't pick up the option, but the other team will pick up the option, and the dead money accelerates, and it's ridiculous. But the cap's fake, so it doesn't matter. Now, that takes us to Rodgers. Last year, we banged the drum. Go try to get Aaron Rodgers. The Titans need Aaron Rodgers. To no avail. Now, I know this. I know the Titans, and I reported it, and it was confirmed by A.J. Hawk on the Pat McAfee show. Aaron Rodgers was considering the Titans. Now, from what I was told and reported to you all, the Titans never reached their arm out and fully extended it to Aaron Rodgers like the Denver Broncos did. But the Titans were willing to listen in on Aaron Rodgers. And what I was told and was also confirmed, Aaron was willing to listen to the Titans. Had the Titans had to make a trade for Aaron Rodgers, that would have meant that the Titans would have had to deal their first-round pick last year, their first-round pick this year, their second-round pick this year, and probably their second-round pick next year. They didn't have a second-rounder last year because of Julio Jones. Woof. And then they would have had to give Aaron the contract. And it may have been more in order to try to get Aaron Rodgers. Well, guess what? I still want Aaron Rodgers. But I'm not paying all of that. The difference a year makes in the NFL is astronomical. Think about this. If I had told you 1 year ago today that people would consider Jared Goff a significantly better quarterback than Russell Wilson, you would have thought I was crazy. Last year, the team that had all the resources to be able to go make a trade or go get a quarterback and had all the money and had all the phony cap space you guys care about, the team that was in prime position was the Denver Broncos. If Aaron Rodgers tells the Packers this week, I don't want to go back to Green Bay, the Denver Broncos are out of the sweepstakes. The LA Rams were the defending champions. Sean McVay might not even be their coach next year. Think about how much a year makes a difference. John Robinson this time last year was the general manager of the number 1 seed in the AFC. He has been jobless for 7 weeks. So it's different this time around. I think the Titans should be interested in Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not sure there's all that many teams out there that would be as interested in Aaron as the Titans would. All these teams like Houston and Indianapolis and teams that'll pick towards the top of the draft, I don't think they'll be that interested in Aaron Rodgers. You think Indianapolis wants to pay $15 million, $60 million next season for a quarterback who's probably going to be gone at the end of the year? Or do you think sitting there at 4 overall, they've got the ammunition to move up if they want. They could get a C.J. Stroud. They could get a Will Levis. They could move up to 1 and get a Bryce Young. Do you think they'd be more interested in that? Houston is sitting at 2. They could take at least Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud no matter what. So a lot of teams out there don't have that need for Aaron Rodgers. And then there's places, he's not going to Washington. He's not going to Carolina. Green Bay will not want to trade him within the division. And there's really nowhere there for him to go. There's really not a lot of options for Aaron Rodgers if he wants out. Again, as has been reported, first by here and confirmed by everybody else, Aaron was building a house last offseason. Now, I don't know about the progress of Aaron's house, but I'm going to make the assumption that it's probably built. So if Aaron's looking to leave Green Bay, I think the Titans provide a spot that he would probably want to go to. He likes the coach. He knows the defense is good. Treylon Burks, his number 1 receiver here, probably played his best game against Green Bay. He's got a tight end. He's got a running back, and he's got a house here. Other than that, I just don't think there's a lot of other places for Aaron Rodgers. Now, I think he'll probably go back to Green Bay, but again, everybody last year thought Russell Wilson was going back to Seattle. You never know, especially with Aaron. But then there's the compensation element of this. This time last year, I would have said, do whatever it takes to get Aaron Rodgers. That'll be 5 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, Kevin Byard, Jeffrey Simmons, and you're going to have to give him 20% ownership in the new stadium. Sold. Go get Aaron Rodgers. This year, I don't feel that way. Aaron Rodgers is a year older. He's no longer the 2-time league MVP. He had a down year this year. He was injured. He's kind of a flake. He does ayahuasca, and we have no idea how much longer he wants to play football, and we have no idea how much of a priority football is to him. In fact, if Aaron Rodgers called and said, I want to be a Tennessee Titan, and the Green Bay Packers said, go explore a trade with Tennessee, and Green Bay said, okay, we understand Aaron's older, Aaron's got his money, he's got his ayahuasca, he's got his, we'll do this straight up for the 11th overall pick, I'd say no. I would not trade the 11th overall pick for Aaron Rodgers. A year ago, I'd have traded whatever it took to get Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't trade the 11th overall pick. The 11th overall pick is real firepower. This draft is going to have 3 quarterbacks at least, maybe 4, go before the 11th overall pick. It's going to have a couple of tackles. It's going to have some defensive players like Will Anderson and Jalen Carter go, which means there's going to be an offensive lineman or a receiver like Quentin Johnston of TCU or Jackson Smith and Jigba of Ohio State or the tackle out of Northwestern. There's going to be somebody there who the Titans can draft and we would assume could probably play right away. I'm not dealing the 11th overall pick. If I get a left tackle with that pick, I am not trading a left tackle who could be there for 10, 15 years for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not doing it. So this is where I feel like the Titans are in a great spot. Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback. I'm fine with Tannehill coming back next year. If my new general manager and my evaluators decide, hey, I know that people are crapping on Will Levis because he kind of stunk this year with Kentucky football, but trust me, we think this guy is, like Mel Kiper Jr. said, the next Troy Aikman, and he's sitting there at 11. Take him. You still have Tannehill. Now you got Levis. I'm fine with that. But if Aaron Rodgers and the Packers come knocking and they say Aaron would like to come here, I don't care about the money. That doesn't matter to me. Cap's fake. But the terms have changed. I'll give you my first next year. I will not give you the 11th overall pick. I'll give you a handful of picks in this year's draft. I might give you a player, but I'm not giving you the 11th overall pick. I am not going to be held hostage to Aaron Rodgers the way he is holding you hostage right now. I am not going to be beholden to Russell Wilson the way the Denver Broncos have no way out of that maze. A year ago, I would have done it. And I would have done it for both of them. I would have done it for Aaron. I would have done it for Russell. I would have done whatever it took to get what we thought was an elite quarterback at that time. But this year's different. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I have not read the text line yet. I have not taken any of your calls yet, but I can hear some eyes rolling about, oh, here goes Jared with the Aaron Rodgers and the Titans. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Aaron's going back to Green Bay. I don't think Aaron's going to retire. He's got $60 million coming to him. But there is one very prominent national voice that just keeps hammering away at Aaron Rodgers and the Titans. And they did it again yesterday. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of it.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Edley's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here. And football fans, call your own plays during the NFL playoffs with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because when you bet NFL same-game parlays from now through January 16th, all customers can get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose. All you have to do is place a total of $20 or more on NFL, SGP, or SGP Plus bets during the wild card round. The more you bet, the more you'll get back in free bets. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a larger payday. So, for instance, I like the Bengals to take down the Ravens. I like Joe Burrow over on touchdown passes, and I like Jamar Chase as an anytime touchdown scorer. But you take it any way you want to take it. Build your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can also get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose, when signing up with promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is not withdrawable free bets and expires 7 days after receipt. Max free bet of $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex drive results vary.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There'll be no Aaron Rodgers Tuesday today. That's because Aaron Rodgers is meeting with the Packers today and tomorrow. These are said to be lengthy meetings. We don't know what's going to come from them, but we do know next week, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, live and in action. The week after that, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, live and in action. So I think we're going to have a lot of answers for what the future looks like after the next couple of days in Green Bay, in Lambeau. After 12, the quarterback meets with the team.
Aaron Rodgers Tuesday on the Pat McAfee Show was canceled. Aaron's moment to get all his feelings off his chest on the Pat McAfee couch. It's like the Oprah for Aaron Rodgers. And so he didn't do it this week because he was meeting with the Packers all day Tuesday, and he was meeting with the Packers all day yesterday. And I kind of chuckle because I think to myself, does Aaron really need to meet for 2 whole days with the Packers? Or is Aaron just flexing the muscle of, I hold all the leverage now because you guys gave me that contract, so now I want to make sure everybody knows that you need to spend all day placating my power in this organization? That I couldn't tell you, and that's none of my business. But one thing I've learned, and I don't think I do this, but maybe sometimes I do. Sometimes when people say things and they are hypothesizing and they put it out there into the universe, all of a sudden it starts getting talked about like it's a real thing. Joe Rexrode a couple of weeks ago wrote a column that was basically like, Ohio State should fire Ryan Day and hire Mike Vrabel. And all of a sudden that turned into, do you think Vrabel's going to Ohio State? And I'm like, do you even have an athletic subscription? No. So you can't read that article, but you see, what? I mean, I thought that was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen in my life. Joe Rexrode hypothesizes something that, straight up water cooler talk, and it becomes a, I think that might be serious right there. Colin Cowherd, you may not like him, but Colin Cowherd has one of the most watched and listened to shows in America. Colin Cowherd is on all across the country and has been for the better part of 20 years. Hell, we just picked him up on 94.9. And Colin Cowherd will not stop talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Tennessee Titans. This goes all the way back. We're going to just take you through the last handful of weeks in which Cowherd has been banging the drum for Aaron Rodgers to be a Titan. This was first on December 9th, where Colin Cowherd said, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to Tennessee.
Aaron Rodgers to Tennessee seems incredibly obvious.
Come again. Aaron Rodgers going from no receivers and Christian Watson to Tennessee?
So, Vrabel's like a guy's guy.
Okay.
So, Vrabel's sales pitch to Aaron, very alpha, very much a guy's guy, played in the league as Aaron's taken the lumps this year instead of what I believe is an average coach in Matt LaFleur. Aaron has not an underachieving defense in Green Bay, but a great defense in Tennessee. So Aaron gets a legit defense, a legit big-time coach, an emerging star at receiver, which he has in Green Bay, and a division in which Houston's a mess.
That's
the
fair.
Jags are surging, but they're the Jags, and the Colts don't have a quarterback.
I mean, he just said, I think that he's going to go to Tennessee. And the other guy there on the show was like, so he has no receivers in Green Bay, and now he's going to go to Tennessee. And now Colin's got to defend the take. So he does. Vrabel, he's a guy's guy. So that was December 9th. Then, December 23rd, right before the end of the year, Merry Christmas, Colin Cowherd says, hey, Aaron Rodgers in Tennessee.
Mike Vrabel, to me, is one of the smartest ex-players that the sport has. I think Mike's really smart.
Yeah.
The GM of Tennessee got thrown out of the building. Mike's going to run the building. So Mike Vrabel's smart. He had Tom Brady. He knows the value of a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's built one of the best defenses. He's a tough guy, really smart. Tannehill now is in year 11. He's 34 years old. He's now going to miss the rest of the season. Malik Willis may be good, not close to beating a Lamar Jackson, a Herbert, a Mahomes, an Allen, a Burrow. Not close. Not close. Totally raw. Like he's a year of backing up again. I'll just throw this at you. This team is running back centric. Think Herschel Walker trade. They have to pay Derrick Henry a ton next year.
It's bad. Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know where the Herschel Walker trade thing, Derrick Henry, I don't even know where that came from. I mean, I love Derrick Henry, but you're not going to get the Herschel Walker package in return for Derrick Henry. But now Cowherd has decided this is the take. Aaron Rodgers to the Titans. Friday. So we have December 9th. We have December 23rd. Friday. Cowherd says if they lose, I think he might go to the Titans.
Aaron understands wherever he goes, he doesn't want to gut the team's draft capital. Right? He wants to go to Tennessee. He wants them to have enough picks to get him another receiver. The Burks kid, Trey Burks, they like a lot, but they need another receiver. You don't want to have to give up multiple, couple of first, couple of second. That's what hurts Denver's job right now. Man, they got no picks next year. Is Aaron thinking, I can talk privately with Mike Vrabel? I'm not saying Aaron's done this, but it would be really, really shrewd.
So there's our next one. That was Friday. Now this week on his podcast, Colin Cowherd, I've got a theory for you guys that you're not ready for. Aaron Rodgers to the Titans.
Mike Vrabel played with Tom Brady. He is absolutely one of the smartest coaches in the league. He knows the importance of the position. And he's now in a conference where Trevor Lawrence looks like a top 5 quarterback.
Yep.
He's in a conference with Mahomes and Allen
Yep.
and Burrow and Herbert
Yep.
and Trevor Lawrence. All the good young guys. And Vrabel is going to get on the phone after this season because there's no dead cap hit for Tannehill. And he's going to say, Aaron, get the F down here. He's going to play to his vanity. Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. I need you. He understands quarterback. Aaron's never had great defenses in Green Bay.
Think about this. Colin Cowherd decided a month and a half ago that Aaron Rodgers should go to the Titans. Ever since then, he's just been repeating the same take over and over again. But he's coming up with all these different reasons. And these things aren't even true. He called Traylon Burks Trey Burks. He said that Ryan Tannehill has no dead cap money. That's not true. He's got $18 million in change in dead cap money. But because he is committed to the take that Tannehill and Vrabel are going to lock arms and that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Titans, he is going to keep saying it until Aaron Rodgers says he's going back to Green Bay. And I'm not saying that that means Aaron Rodgers is coming here because it's not. It's his opinion. But just like we saw with that Joe Rexrode column about Vrabel going to Ohio State, sometimes when guys with big enough platforms say things over and over and over and over and over again, like Cowherd is doing, all of a sudden people start to think, what about that idea? And I have to think of all the teams that are possible. Let's say Aaron doesn't want to go back to Green Bay. I don't think Aaron has any respect for the coach. They don't have Devontae Adams there anymore. Green Bay and the Titans, I kind of feel like are the same team, except one team has Aaron Rodgers and the other team has Derrick Henry. And the Titans have a better coach. But if Aaron were to look around the league and say, where do I want to go? I do think the Titans would be on his list, just like they were on his list last year. But the more it gets talked about by people that have huge platforms, the more it's going to kind of bubble up. And Cowherd, I don't know if you've noticed this, he's not dropping that take. He may not have a lot behind it, but he's not dropping the take. Now, I don't think Vrabel wants anything to do with Aaron Rodgers other than the fact that Aaron's talented. I cannot see Vrabel putting up with Aaron Rodgers' personality. We're sitting here saying that the GM needs to be more collaborative with the coach. Mike Vrabel does not want to collaborate with the quarterback. But again, the more Colin Cowherd says it, the more people are going to hear it, the more people are going to think, this Aaron Rodgers to the Titans thing, this could happen. I'm not there yet. I'm not one of those people. And again, I'm not giving up the 11th overall pick for Aaron Rodgers. A year ago, I'd have given you whatever you want. But we're where we are now. But I'm just saying, if Aaron decides, and like Pat McAfee said, 2 whole days of meetings, the way that locker cleanout day works in the NFL, you miss the playoffs on Sunday, you clean out your locker on Monday, goodbye, see you in April. Aaron spends all day there Tuesday, all day there Wednesday. If Aaron doesn't like what he hears, he's probably going to want out. He's probably not going to want to walk away from the $60 million that he's due next year. How many places is he going to want to go to? I think the Titans could be a part of it. And again, Colin Cowherd saying it over and over and over and over again means one of two things. Either he's putting it out there and he's not going to back off of that, so he's going to keep saying it, or he's hearing things behind the scenes and somebody is pitching him, hey, man, you got to keep pumping Aaron to the Titans. I don't know why, but that's what's happening. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get into your phones on this. Again, I just think we need to keep our eyes on Aaron Rodgers. Now, coming up next, the GM interviews have started with the Titans. And my number one question for these GMs is probably the number one question that Amy Adams Strunk has as well. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge.
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
Passion.
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
And expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
If you missed the latest from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Terrence. 11, I don't think that you're going to find your quarterback of the future. And I think, Hendon Hooker, you're not going to have him for the full season. He tore his ACL, and I don't think Hendon Hooker is a top 11 player in this draft, nor do I think that Will Levis is a top 11 player in this draft, or a top quarterback in this draft. But to Terrence's point, this is going to be the highest. It is the highest the Titans have picked over the last few years. This might be the highest the Titans pick. I mean, it'd be great if this is the highest that the Titans pick over the next few years, because that's a really good sign if they're picking at the bottom of the draft. But I think that we all are kind of conditioned as football fans to view the top of the draft, or at least a top 10, or where the Titans are 11th pick, as being the quarterback spots. But let's not forget that really good tackles go at the top of the draft. The Titans need really good tackles. The Titans have one offensive lineman under contract coming up next year, and that's Ben Jones, and Ben Jones is probably going to retire. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back Nate Davis, but you're looking at pretty much an entire overhaul of the offensive line going into this season. Offensive linemen and tackles are premier picks in the draft. Tackles are premier positions in this draft. So to the point of, this is the highest the Titans have picked in a while, they should get a quarterback. I say, why not get an offensive lineman? Because you don't necessarily need a quarterback.
I mean,
well, that's going to be something, Derek, that I think will be important in this whole equation, and that is, can your scouts really identify what's out there in each particular draft? You mentioned it, Caroline. We've watched Will Levis play a lot. We've watched Hendon Hooker.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bonus days are back for pros at Lowe's. You earn points and save when you buy the top pro brands you trust, like DeWalt. Right now, you can save $100 on the powerful DeWalt 8¼ carbide tipped portable table saw. Was $399, now just $299. Join today and shop bonus days, only at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 1/20. Subject to change while supplies last. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from 3.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Do you think that the internal candidates right now, the incumbents, do you think they have any real shot at getting this job?
I think so. I mean, look, man, Ryan Cowden as a GM brought in who? Josh Dobbs. That right there, because Dobbs had them in position to win against Jacksonville.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That right there, that's a plus, a feather in his cap during this trial era. You know, and Monty Ossenfort, I mean, you have to look. He's tenured, right? And he has that Patriot background also. So, yeah, I think they have absolute right to be able to interview for this, and I think they should be candidates, and they are.
There you go. That was TD talking about the two internal candidates who will interview for the Titans general manager job or are interviewing right now, Monty Ossenfort and Ryan Cowden. Monty Ossenfort came to the Titans a couple of years ago from New England, so he's part of that crew. The Nick Caserio, Bob Quinn, Jason Light, John Robinson, that group in New England. He's part of that tree. And Ryan Cowden, who comes from the Marty Herney, Carolina tree. So that is where we should be, that is where Brandon Beane, who I think the best general manager in the NFL is, that is where he came from, was Carolina. He and Sean McDermott went to Buffalo. And that team that put together the 15-1 NFC champion Carolina Panthers, that group, Ryan Cowden was a part of that. And then he's been here with Robinson for pretty much the whole time. Now, I know more about GM interviews than you do. And what I know is I know the presentation that these guys give. I know what the booklets look like. It's a giant binder, and everything is detailed in these GM meetings. Basically, it is, here's what I want to do with the Tennessee Titans. And then they explain it. It's PowerPoints. It's booklets. It's here's how we should run the video team. Here's how we should run the training staff. Here's how we should run the scouting staff. Here's how we should run the facility. It is all of that. But one thing I do wonder is when these guys get up and they're giving Amy Adams Strunk, Kenneth Adams, Burke Nihill, Adolfo Birch, and the other lawyer, I forget his name, and they're giving them kind of their spiel. And they're going over their 300-page or whatever it may be breakdown of the organization. What are they saying they're going to do at quarterback? If I owned the team and I was sitting there in the meeting, that would be the thing that's in my head that I would not articulate to the GM candidates. I would not let them know ahead of time, hey, I want to know what your plan at quarterback is. Obviously, anybody being a general manager of any football team, I don't care if it's Arena League football, I don't care if it's the XFL or Canadian football, I don't care what it is. But anybody who's interviewing for any GM job, I think that you would want to say, hey, here's my plan at quarterback. But I'm not going to go out of my way to hear what these guys have to say they would do at quarterback. Because I wonder, are these general manager candidates, really the external candidates too, especially the external candidates, are they going to get up in front of Amy Adams Strunk and say, all right, here's my grand plan, Tannehill, the end? Or are these guys trying to make a splash so much that they're going to have it all they're going to have a breakdown. Okay, we redo Tannehill's contract here. We wait until next year. We draft there. Are they going to walk in and say, I want Derek Carr? I have no idea. I have no idea what Rand Carthon of the 49ers thinks or Malik Boyd of the Bills. I have no idea what these guys think. But that is what I would want to know if I'm sitting there. It's not about collaboration with Vrabel and things like that. I've made it abundantly clear. That's what I'm going to do. I want collaboration with my coach. But what is your plan at quarterback? Is it a creative plan? Is it a simplistic plan? Sometimes a simplistic plan might actually be better than the creative plan because it at least shows some sort of check with reality. But I don't know what these guys are thinking. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. I have promised your phone, so now we will go to them. 615-737-1025. Michael is going to kick us off today. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I have somewhat of a question about the last segment and this segment.
Sure.
first, what do you think a fair compensation would be for Aaron Rodgers if he were to theoretically become available?
I would give them Ryan Tannehill because, I mean, even though they've got Jordan Love, they're probably going to want to take on a quarterback back. If for no other reason, they can then deal Tannehill to another team. But I would include Tannehill in the trade, and I would give them my first next year, and that's it.
Okay. And second question, I wanted to get your opinion on why you think John Robinson hasn't been in talks with other teams about becoming either a part of their team or some part of their front office, or maybe like the Cardinals are looking for a new GM.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he has, I'm not sure, but do you think he'll eventually be back in the league somewhere, or are you just surprised that his name hasn't come up in talks about front offices being replaced with all the Black Monday stuff happening?
So I think that's a very interesting question. Good call. I think that's a very interesting question. The thing I will tell you about John Robinson is in these contracts, guys have things that are called offsets, which means that John Robinson, I'm going to guess he was probably making about $8 million a year. Now, that is just shooting from my ass. So somebody over there at the Titans might be listening and they, that works in finance or something, and they may be like, no, John makes 3.5. I have no idea. But I'm going to guess that he makes $8 million. So if he's got 4 more years after this year, you are talking about serious cash. You're talking about $32 million that is coming to him if he doesn't do anything. Now, the thing about football is these guys are wired to want to do football. Like, they are wired to want to wake up in the morning and put on the tape. And they are wired to want to go to pro day. And they are wired to want to evaluate prospects. And you guys don't understand, but Floyd Reese did not like sitting at home. These guys want to do football. And so I don't think John Robinson has jumped back into the general manager hunt yet because he's got all this free money coming to him from the Titans. And also his reputation right now is that he's the guy who traded away A.J. Brown. But I think as time goes on, I think there will be teams that are interested in John Robinson. What I think is going to happen, the New England Patriots are a notoriously cheap organization. Bill Belichick even got up the other day and started pointing the finger at Robert Kraft for not spending enough money in free agency. He didn't say it, but he said it. What I think's going to happen is I believe part of Bill's plan with Robert Kraft, and he met with Robert Kraft yesterday to go over his future plan, is going to involve bringing John Robinson back. Now, it's risky because I don't know in what direction the Patriots are going to go. I do know that John Robinson, if he showed up in New England, would be the best evaluator that they have. And he knows their system. He knows their way. It would not surprise me if John Robinson got hired by the New England Patriots and made almost no money so that he wouldn't have to give back any of his Titans money. The Patriots wouldn't have to pay Robinson any money, but he rebuilt his reputation and really kept up in the league with personnel. It's hard when you get behind. When you take a year out of it, you take 2 years out of it, it's hard. And so I have no sourcing on this. I think Robinson will end up back in New England. And I think he will end up back in New England either very soon, like within the next month or so, or I think he may end up in New England right after the draft. And most of these contracts are signed through the draft. So it would not surprise me if Robinson did not take a gig until around the draft. But I do think John Robinson will get back in it. He's too young, and he likes football too much. These guys, the idea that you all think of, oh, man, $32 million to sit on your butt and go to the beach. I mean, I'd love that. Most guys that do football, they don't like doing that. Texter into the text line says, Aaron Rodgers will not come to play behind this offensive line. Let me say this. Everybody's line stinks. If Tampa Bay is ranked number 2 in the offensive line category in the NFL, which I still don't believe, somebody called in the other day and said that Tampa Bay had the second best offensive line, then everybody's line stinks. I don't think the problem with Aaron is whether or not the line that the Titans rolled out there last week is going to be what he plays behind. I think the thing with Aaron is going to be who's going to be on the line. What is the plan that you have to fix the line? And the Titans, there are fixes out there. There are free agents out there that the Titans could go get that could plug in the middle. They have a right tackle who I don't love, but I think they could convince themselves as a starting right tackle in the NFL. They got a high pick to draft a tackle. Tampa Bay did that when they got Tom Brady. They drafted Tristan Wirfs in the first round. So I'm not so worried about that like you all are. I hear the panic about the offensive line, of the screams and the anxiety, and I'm like, guys, calm down. It'll be okay. 615-737-1025. Heartbreaking loss for the Predators last night for that goaltending performance they had. And yet it takes me, I thought last night's game was kind of revealing, and maybe revealing in a bad way. I'll explain next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you missed the latest from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace,
something needs to change. I don't think if he doesn't say anything, then sort of like Bud Dupree. He hadn't said anything about Bud Dupree, and Bud Dupree has been just as injured as all these other guys. I don't think he, frankly, cares about Bud Dupree in that sense.
And
he's ready to move on from him.
I could see the Titans moving on from Bud Dupree. I wouldn't feel very comfortable with the Titans moving on from David Long Jr.
No,
I don't think that's a guy that
because they're not going to.
And I don't think they are.
Those guys are very important. And Derek, I think what you're getting at is the heart of the matter. I think he cares about those guys. I think he definitely is counting on those guys for next year. And I think you hit on a very important point. I don't think he would say anything about those two guys in a negative light unless he had told them face-to-face directly. That's just not Mike Vrabel. I think he has a very, very good relationship with his players, especially, quote-unquote, his guys, and those are two of his guys. David Long, I think, is one of his favorite players he's had since he's been here. But, look, here's the other part of it. Those guys are both coming around, and David Long's will be this season. You know, they're in a window where they got to decide if they can count on David Long for the next contract. They're going to get pay raises, and they can't count on them if it's going to be a constant thing with the hamstrings. Right? So the soft tissue injuries are important. Remember the context of all those questions. Why can't you stay healthy? The last 2 years have been short-circuited big time by injuries, especially this year. And there's a distinction between tearing your ACL or having a high ankle sprain, which is really, really tough to come back from, as opposed to just pulling your hamstring over and over again.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Signs First, Nashville's leading locally owned and operated sign and physical media company, has been supporting local community organizations for over 30 years. Signs First offers a 10% discount to all churches, nonprofits, and charities. Go to sfnash.com.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Right point, Nylander, pass to Marner, wide open net, and he scores. Superman dive by UC Saros. Mikhail Granlund hit the deck in front of him, but with a broken stick and a whole lot of movement, the Leafs get a power play goal by Mitch Marner to tie the game, put the Leafs ahead 2-1 with 1:15 left.
What a death blow to the Nashville Predators last night. I thought UC Soros was going to pull it off again. The way he's playing right now, he is playing at a Superman level. You heard Max say in the cut right there, I thought there was a chance Soros was going to get back and stop that puck. You give Mitch Marner a wide open net like that, he's not going to miss it. Of course, Alexander Carrier breaks his stick because when the going gets tough, with Carrier, it always seems to be something. The Predators held that team last night to 2 goals. Now, the offense for the Predators is still terrible. I know it's gotten a little bit better, but I went back and looked it up. Right now, the Predators are 28th in the league in goals per game. They're 28th on the power play. They're 7th in penalties taken. Last night, they take a penalty, a double minor with the high sticking. Now, I know the rule says if you draw blood, then it's a double minor. I thought that still was a little ridiculous. But nonetheless, the Predators kill off about 3/4 of that penalty, and Mitch Marner puts it in. You cannot take a 4-minute penalty with 4.5 minutes to go on the road at Toronto, no matter how good your goalie is playing. But here's the bigger issue with the Predators that I thought last night's game kind of encapsulated a little bit, which was this team is playing with some confidence right now. I mean, they are playing hard. They aren't making a ton of mistakes. I mean, I know the high sticking from Jankowski last night was ridiculous, but they're playing winning hockey for the most part. But the reason why the Predators are beating good teams right now, or in the case of last night, going right down to the wire with good teams, is because the goalie is playing the best that any goalie can play, period. He's a great goalie. The stretch that he's had for the last week and a half, that's better than he is, which means at some point he's going to cool down a little bit and he's going to go back to what he is, which again is still good, but it is not that good. If the playoffs started today the way he was playing, now the Predators would be out of it, but the way he's playing, if they got into a playoff series, he could steal a series right now. Just like Pekka stole that Chicago series in 2017. That's how well the goalie's playing. And yet they still lost last night because they can't score. And I know David Poyle this week jumped up on the morning show and talked about how John Hines has been doing such a great job to get the goal scoring up and everything like that. But last night, now Toronto, second in the league in goals allowed. They're a good team. But last night, the offense was nowhere to be found. I guess I've been so focused in on the end of the football season that I saw last night they were talking on the TNT broadcast, 31 games without a goal from Tanner Jeannot. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so just looking at the numbers, the Predators are third in the NHL in save percentage. Boston, a legitimate cup contender, is number 1. And they've got 3 lines. They got 2 pairs. They got a great goalie who probably is going to end up winning the Vezina Trophy. They've got maybe the best captain in the league. The Bruins are legit. They are a legit Stanley Cup team. The Predators, nobody thinks the Predators are a legit Stanley Cup team. I think the hope internally, and I say think, I don't know. I think the hope internally is that they can just make the playoffs, and hopefully UC Soros, the way he made last night's game interesting, can make a playoff series interesting. But it is tough for me right now when I look at the Predators to try to take away the positives. You know, people always say that, like people want you to look at the positives. All it's been has been, hey, give us some time. We'll show you. We'll show you we believe. We'll show you that we can be that kind of team. And I really have kind of rolled my eyes because it feels like everything is setting up for what has always been, will be again this year. The fact that the Predators will end up making the playoffs barely, just like they did last year, just like they did the year before, and then getting beat in the first round. And it might be a little fun like it was in the Carolina series 2 years ago because of the goalie, but that we're kind of looking at the same thing over again. And I think most people kind of assume that. But I just don't see any reason to believe in this team offensively. And you're not going to get by good teams consistently when the ice is as tilted as it's been. They got outshot and won a game. This is how good UC Soros has been playing. They got outshot and won a game last week against Carolina, a legitimate contender, by 40 2. I'm not one to sit there and count the shots because I've seen that team's fired in from the blue line, and all of a sudden they end up with 38 shots, and the other team scores 2 goals, and so they get outshot 38-21, and then after the game, the team's like, oh, well, we just got outshot, or we outshot them, and there was nothing. I know you outshot them. So I don't take that to be the end-all, be-all. But you get outshot by 42, and you end up winning 5-3. I mean, something. That's fluky. Last night against Toronto, they played hard. They played together. Every single guy on the ice was trying to win last night. I know Jankowski's probably going to get scratched. I saw your tweet about Jankowski.
Pure speculation. It was just, one of those things in the feeling. You're just like, I don't know, man. You're already on the bubble here, and Cole Smith might be back in tonight. We shall see.
Oh, I think he's getting scratched after that 4-minute high-sticking penalty last night cost you a game. But I think that's just kind of what the Predators are when they play good teams. They'll win some games against good teams for sure. But I think that's kind of just what the Predators are. Last night was what they are, which is if the goalie plays his butt off. I mean, these goaltending performances we've been seeing from Saros, they're so good that it's a shame when they waste one like they did last night. But that the goalie is playing so much better than even he is, which is not going to last. But that's their hope against good teams, is that the goalie plays so great that they steal it. And at the end, I still am not sure if they're good enough to do that consistently to win a playoff series. And I go back to the NFL. And I remember how when the Titans were bad, I'm talking like the Wisenhunt days bad. When they were bad, it always felt like at the end of the game, the other team's quarterback just found a way to make a play. That we could always sit there on a Monday morning and we could always say, oh, if that penalty didn't happen, or if that receiver had caught that ball, or if, well, the difference between that receiver that dropped it and Davante Adams is that Davante Adams doesn't drop that pass. The difference between, if we just could have converted that 3rd and 13, but the quarterback missed high, is that Patrick Mahomes doesn't miss high. That's the difference. It was so close, but Alexander Carrier broke his stick. Back in the days of the core 4, with Yossi and Ellis and Ekholm and PK all in their primes, they didn't break their sticks in big moments like that. 4-minute penalty kill. That's just, I just think the Predators are just a day late and dollar short. Now, do we know if Askarov's going to play tonight?
I do not know that.
So he got called up last night on an emergency basis. I forget what the exact, was Lincoln in sick last night?
I think it was some type of, I think it was under the weather type of thing. I think. I don't know for sure.
Okay. So Askarov got called up last night. And it would make perfect sense that if you were going to play Askarov in his first NHL game, you would not play him against Toronto. You would play him against Montreal. Because Montreal freaking stinks. So if Lankinen is not, if Lankinen is out, and I hope he is, we might get to see the kid play. And I hope we get to see the kid play. And if the kid plays well, Adam Vingan texted me last night. I don't know if I want to throw Adam under the bus with this, but who cares? Adam Vingan texted me last night. He said he thinks they should trade UC Saros. And I was thinking about a team like Edmonton. And I was like, man, could you imagine what Edmonton would give up to give you UC Saros? Now, you'd have to take on their terrible goalie contract back. But goodness, they may not even have enough assets to give you what you need. But if Askarov is that dude, and if Askarov is going to be that dude, which everybody says he is, maybe we'll see tonight. But if Askarov's going to be that dude, UC Saros, his value is never going to be higher. And again, Saros gave you everything he could last night, and they still couldn't win the game. Texter to the text line says they are playing their best hockey, and they still can't beat the big boys. That is a sign that it is time to rebuild. I think what happened last year in the playoffs, I think that was maybe the sign to rebuild, but we've been begging for that now for 2 years. I'm telling you, it ain't going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen, the reason the Predators are never going to rebuild, or at least with David Poile, the reason they're never going to rebuild is the same reason why Mike Vrabel's not going to rebuild. Because if Vrabel says, all right, we're rebuilding, Henry's gone, Tannehill's gone, Byard's gone, Simmons is gone, everybody's gone, we're loading up for the future, Vrabel's getting fired. That's just sports. And that's why the Predators are not going to rebuild. Because David Poile knows that they can take a game like last night, the way Saros is playing, they can sell that as, I think we're right there. We're only 3 points out of a playoff spot. We got games in hand on Calgary, Edmonton, and St. Louis, who's ahead of us. Let's not mention the fact that Colorado is a point behind them, and we know Colorado is going to be okay. But they will sell it to you on that, and then it just perpetuates the cycle. That's just what I think. Coach Shoup is here. He's going to join us next. And I'm going to ask him, now that the season's over, now that we know the GM meetings are being had, where are the Titans going from here? Where do they go? How do they regroup? How do they start it? What do they ask of the new GM? That's next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willie Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The offseason work for the Titans continues to unfold. As the NFL Network is reporting, the team is interviewing their top in-house candidates today, Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort, for their vacant GM position. The Nashville Predators' win streak came to an end last night in Toronto as they fell to the Maple Leafs by a 2-1 final. They are right back at it tonight in Montreal. Head coach John Hines last night on the quick turnaround.
Now it's all about Montreal. You got to put this one to bed, and then you got to be ready tomorrow. It's a short turnaround, but I think that's good. Though our team game's going in the right direction. We'll be a hungry group to finish the road trip the right way. That's what our challenge is, but that's what our mindset will be.
We will have pregame coverage beginning at 5 with puck drop at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. And the NFL announced today that a potential Kansas City versus Buffalo AFC Championship game will be played in Atlanta. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Coach Bob Shoop here today. Hello, Coach.
Hey, Jared.
So I want to get right into the meat of this with the Titans. Where does the organization go from here? They got GM interviews today. They're interviewing the internal candidates. I think over the weekend they're interviewing the external candidates. They're going to need to hire a GM. The owner came out on record and said that she wants a collaborative process. So clearly that means that the GM is not going to be in charge. Vrabel and the GM, I guess, are going to be 50-50 and report to the owner. They fired the offensive coordinator. They fired the line coach. They fired one of the DB's coach. What do we make of where the Titans are right now?
Well, I think that's what they're, let's face it. At the end of the day, there's one team that wins the Super Bowl. There's two teams that are in the Super Bowl. There's 8 division champions. There's 14 teams that make the playoffs, and right now the Titans weren't one of them. And so they're making decisions as to the short-term and long-term, betterment of the organization. And first and foremost, obviously, is the GM. The GM sets the culture of the program, sets the direction of the program with Coach Vrabel. Whether that's 50-50, whether it's 60-40, whether it's 70-30, we don't know. But certainly, as I think we all kind of agreed, towards the end of the year, Coach Vrabel we thought would be safe, but we knew heads would roll. We said if the Titans end on a 7-game losing streak and have the collapse that they did at the end of the year, that Monday, in that building was going to be very uncomfortable for several people. And we as coaches, as I said this, for my first time on the show, we understand that. This is a result-oriented industry. And, when we looked each week, whether it was John Robinson and a flawed roster, whether it was the offense not performing up to the standards of the organization, whether it was the offensive line not performing up to the standards. We talked about the secondary, flaws in the secondary. The offensive skill guy, he's collateral damage right there. But those things happen, and those coaches understand that, and it doesn't make it any easier for their families. It's just it just is what it is. So right now we're in the process of getting the right people on the bus, so to speak. And that's the general manager and the coaching staff. And from there, they'll make decisions on where they move forward. Now, I was with an NFL coach today, and we had lunch together, and he was telling me this week's all about writing reports. You're writing reports. The executives are meeting to discuss everybody in the organization, from the head coach to the assistant coaches to the players. The assistant coaches are writing reports on the players. And starting to make decisions as they move forward for the Senior Bowl, for the Combine, for the draft, for free agency, and for all those things moving forward. So we're in the very, very early stages right now, and I think the table's been set.
So do you think that Vrabel has to wait until they hire a general manager to go for his offensive coordinator, or do you think Vrabel is simultaneously going after the offensive coordinator while ownership is in the first round of interviewing GM candidates and then probably brings Vrabel in for the second round?
Simultaneously. I have no question. I mean, when we read about this person or that person interviewing, a lot of decisions have already been made. I'm sure those phone calls have been made. There's so much that goes on. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on that we're unaware of. I mean, there's the Rooney Rule applies not just to head coaches but to coordinators. So there's a certain amount of, it's not just, hey, I want my guy this guy to come in and be the offensive coordinator. There is a process that's going to happen before the Titans are able to hire an offensive coordinator. And I know that process, I'm very, very certain that process has already begun. Now, that coordinator, Coach Vrabel, and the GM will probably collaborate in an effort to hire the next offensive line coach. And between Coach Vrabel and Coach Bowen and the guys on the defensive side, they're probably in coordination and trying to replace Anthony Midget on the defensive side of the ball.
So when you say that it's going on simultaneously and that a lot of decisions have already been made, do you think that means that Vrabel's already made up his mind as far as who he wants for offensive coordinator, and that he's probably already talked to that person and we just don't know about it, and then they have to kind of put on the front of the, hey, we're interviewing all these candidates, but deep down inside they probably already know? That's
certainly not in the spirit of the Rooney Rule, but I think I wouldn't say necessarily he has the person in mind. I think he has a vision as to what he wants this offense to be, and he has a couple people in mind that he, between he and his representatives and the people that are in his ear, have people in mind that they've already contacted and are kind of filing the appropriate paperwork or, the appropriate requests to the teams in order to interview those people.
So how can you interview an offensive coordinator or decide who you want an offensive coordinator if you don't know who the GM is going to be? Because if you don't know who the GM is going to, I don't know what the new GM, if we don't know who that is, I don't know what that GM thinks of Tannehill. If that GM doesn't like Tannehill and he wants to move off of Tannehill, are he and Vrabel going to go to war on day one about the quarterback? And then if Tannehill's not going to be your quarterback, doesn't that change what you want to do at coordinator?
Absolutely. I think that, the GM, the head coach, and the coordinator, first and foremost, have to have a vision for the style of play and for the identity of the offense. In high school or college, maybe it's, you tailor your scheme to what your players can do, where in the NFL you have a vision for what you want to do, and you just said, so I'm sure all those are the difficult discussions that are going on, in the Titans facilities, as we speak.
So the GM candidates that they're bringing in, Malik Boyd of the Bills, Ian Cunningham of the Browns, Rand Carthon, the old running back of the 49ers. They've got the two internal candidates, Ryan Cowden, Monty Ossenfort, and I think Glenn Cook.
Also from the Browns.
From the Browns. Ian Cunningham's with the Bears. Mm-hmm. Glenn Cook of the Browns. I do wonder, when these guys show up, I don't know what these guys do at the places that they are. Vice president of player personnel, but that doesn't actually tell me what they do in that organization. And that's what the interview process, I guess, would have to be. If you were in the interview process and you were on the panel that the Titans have, what would you want to know from the GM candidates?
Vision. The overall vision for the organization. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to get. How are we going to get there? Okay, along those lines, how much, this is our roster as it's currently constructed. This is our coaching staff as it's currently constructed. What do you see in this? Again, if it's going to be collaborative, then I think Coach Vrabel is going to be a part of these discussions. To leave him out would be a huge mistake. Coach Vrabel is an outstanding coach. A collapse like this at the end of the year is quite a challenge and very difficult from having gone through moments like this to get over at times. But Coach Vrabel, has a vision for what he wants as a team, and if he's going to collaborate with whoever these people are, and candidly, the names that we're bringing up aren't necessarily established NFL executives. Some of them are up-and-comers. Some are with great and successful organizations now and have been trained by people in positions of power. And the people within the framework of the building are people that are very, very familiar with Coach Vrabel and his vision and what he's looking to accomplish in the style of play. So the questions that I'm asking are the questions that every fan is asking. Where do we go with? Are we in a full all-out rebuild? Are we in a soft rebuild? Is this team as currently constructed good enough to win the AFC South? If it's good enough to win the AFC South, we're just a year removed from being the number one seed in the AFC playoffs. We've hosted two home playoff games in consecutive years. Now, we haven't won a playoff game since we were in New England 3 years ago now. So there's a lot of questions moving forward. What does this team need to do to move forward? Where do we stand with Jeffrey Simmons? What are we going to do with the quarterback and the running back position? Kevin Byard is an established leader of the defense. What are we going to do with him? Those are the questions I mean, I think they're going to get after the general question about the vision is going to get into very, very specific questions about specific players and specific sides of the ball and specific contracts.
I'm not going to ask you about specifics because I'm not going to put you on the spot. But do you know some of the guys that are interviewing for the GM spot? Just working in college football, these guys are in personnel. Area scouts, vice president of player personnel. They were looking at a Mississippi State guy. They're looking at a Michigan guy. They're looking at a South Florida guy. They call and say, "Hey, Bob, do you know these guys or some of them or a little bit of them?"
I mean, I know some executives in the Bills organization and hold everybody I've met with regard to the Bills organization in the highest of regard. So I know that person's been trained well.
Talking about Malik Boyd.
Yes, I know he's been trained well. I know he's been in an organization that's the power structures right. The evaluations have been solid, and I mean over the course since Sean McDermott's been there in 2016, they've built a real. I mean, they've really built something special in the last 5 or 6 years. Now it may just be they have an outstanding quarterback and they play really good defense, but that's the truth of the matter. I do know Glenn Cook. Glenn Cook comes from the Browns. He was a great player at University of Miami. Weirdly, I know him, and showing my age here because I recruited him out of high school. But I know if he's with Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns, same thing. He's more of a analytics type guy. Andrew Berry's a Harvard grad. Paul D. Podesta is on that staff with him in Cleveland. Glenn's a very smart guy. He's been around, and he's been up for GM positions before. Ian Cunningham, coming from the Bears, is with Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles played for us when I was a coach at Boston College. Ryan Poles, a first-year GM with the Bears, and by all counts is doing a very, very good job and has a big decision to make as they have the first pick in the draft. So I mean, all the candidates I'm quite sure have been vetted. It's a good group. I think Coach Vrabel and the ownership, are gonna, they have a good group to select from.
Coach Bob Shoop is with us. What we want to get into what Mike Vrabel said about Henry and Tannehill, but also, is this a good job for a GM? Are the Titans, do they have what a GM would want? A roster that could be built upon? We'll ask Coach Shoop that next. Right here, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Electronic Express New Year's blowout sale is going on now. Come into any of our convenient locations for the guaranteed lowest prices on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Apple, KitchenAid, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, appliances, housewares, gaming, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop great deals in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments. So the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Hey, football fans, call your own plays during the wild card weekend with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because when you bet NFL same-game parlays from now through January 16th, all customers get $100 in free bets, win or lose. All you have to do is place a total of $20 or more on an NFL SGP or SGP Plus bets during the wild card round. The more you bet, the more you'll get back in free bets. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a larger payout. I am really looking at the Vikings as a team that may hit a lot of overs against the Giants this week. Build your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you and FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. If you're new to FanDuel, you can also get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose, when signing up with the promo code JGM. That's promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable free bets expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet, $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're going to get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Henry-centric on offense during your time, Mike, and a lot of success. Going forward, do you still envision that being kind of the main theme, or do you see it veering off at all in the future?
We'll have to see where things go in the offseason and see where we think is best for the football team and the identity of the football team and where everybody is and what those plans are. So I can't really answer things that are a few months away and the direction, but confident that we're going to be aligned. That the organization starts with alignment from Amy, to with myself, the general manager, the coaching staff, the players. That's what's important in the offseason, is making sure that those things are in place.
Vrabel asked if he's going to stay Derrick Henry-centric, Coach Shoop. He's like, I can't tell you that in the future. Also non-committal on Ryan Tannehill. If I was in charge, I say we're running it back with Henry and Tannehill and trying to reinforce and go from there. Your thoughts?
Let's be candid here, okay? You win the division, and you have a home playoff game, and you lose to the Baltimore Ravens. That's the COVID year. You win the division, you're the number one seed, you lose a home playoff game to the Bengals. And then you don't make the playoffs. That's a trend. I mean, 1 year, okay, fluky. 2 years, but 3 years now without a playoff victory. That's where we are now as an organization. So I think Coach Vrabel always keeps his cards close to the vest. Heck, he wouldn't commit the day after the Dallas game that Josh Dobbs would be the starting quarterback against Jacksonville. And there's no reason for him to commit to anything. There's no GM in place. They're going through their process right now, as we just said, of the transition of the decision makers, the GM, the offensive staff, and people like that. The questions they're going to have to ask is Ryan Tannehill a winning playoff quarterback? I mean, that's it. Let's line him up against the quarterbacks in the AFC playoffs right now. Would you take him over anybody?
I'm just going to tell you the answer to that is no.
Right. That is correct. And I think this is a quarterback-driven league, no matter how we want to look at it. And this team isn't structured that way right now either. I will say that. I mean, it's a flawed group on the offensive side of the ball, because if you're going to be Derrick Henry centric, then to me you better have a big-time offensive line, and right now we don't have that. And part of that is certainly because we've missed, not because they didn't identify that as something needed. Part of it is because of injuries. So where do we go from there? So is this organization moving into a new stadium and a new time in the next 3 years? What's the objective here? Is the move now to be loyal and be loyal to Tannehill and be loyal to Henry and run it back and see where we go from here? Or is the move to say, let's make a big move. Let's get into maybe make a big move and get into the top handful of picks and get a franchise quarterback, get a big-time offensive tackle. Because at 11, are those people like I said before, it's like being the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs. You're never really getting into the lottery. You're that team that's drafting whatever remains after that. And I don't know those answers. I'm not sold on the top handful of quarterbacks being franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. I know a little bit more about the offensive linemen. I like a couple of those tackles that are good players. I think there are really good receivers by all accounts. That receiving group in the NFL, those are guys in that 10 to 20 range. And I'll say it again. I mean, when I look at the teams that are that are winning in the NFL right now, the teams that are getting to the Final Four into the Super Bowl, it's speed on the perimeter and it's elite quarterback play. Speed on the perimeter, elite quarterback play. Two things that need to be improved in this organization.
Okay, so let's say you're interviewing for the GM position, and instead of giving me the outline of, we could run it back with Henry and Tannehill, or we could go in a different direction, which road would you go?
Different direction. I would go in a different. I'm going to say the opposite of you. We're trending. I mean, I'm not giving an opinion. It's a fact. They're trending in the wrong direction. If the objective, again, is to compete for the AFC South Championship and host a playoff game, then it is what it is. But I sense that there's a bigger objective here. That's why the ownership made the GM move in the middle of the season. And to me, I'm not sure right now that when I look at the rosters, I think it's, like I said, I think it's the teams on offense that are really, really good that are going to be competing in the end. The Final Four teams, the Super Bowl teams, have blazing speed on the perimeter and elite quarterbacks. And on defense, they have dudes that can get to the quarterback, and they have dudes that can cover on the perimeter. I think this is a little bit of a flawed group. I think the Titans might value things, that maybe value things, and they do a great job valuing things. I think they have a great D-line. I think the front seven on the defense is really, really very good. I do think that. I think we have an elite running back. No question about that. Titans have maybe the best running back in the past decade in the NFL, without question. I mean, some of the things that he's done have been amazing. But are those things that are important to winning a Super Bowl, more important than the things that I just described to winning a Super Bowl?
So how do I get the things that you're talking about if I move off of Henry and Tannehill?
As far as, I think if you make a decision that you want to trade, get into the top 5 picks in the draft and either start out with an elite franchise quarterback or a elite franchise left tackle, or you do run it back. I mean, but I'm not, like I said, my answer was that I don't run it back. And it's less about Henry than it is about Tannehill. I just don't know that I think a healthy Ryan Tannehill still puts you in the top 5 or 6 teams in the AFC right now. And maybe not, I think maybe not one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC South even.
Can I give you the argument that a healthy Ryan Tannehill has had me number 1 in the AFC South for the last 3 years? That a healthy Ryan Tannehill with a bad offensive coordinator that I just fired and an offensive line that was terrible, and I fired that line coach too, that Ryan Tannehill, when he had a good coordinator and he had receivers, played at a Joe Montana and a Pro Bowl level with Arthur Smith. I mean, I do think that we got to cut Tannehill a little bit of slack, and that they've won a lot of ball games with Tannehill and Henry. I mean, they have gotten just as far. Now, I know this year's not over, and the Buffalo Bills can win the Super Bowl, but they have gotten just as far over the last 3 years as the Buffalo Bills have. The Buffalo Bills lost in the wild card round. They went to the AFC Championship game. They lost in the divisional round. The Titans went to the AFC Championship game. They lost in the wild card round. They lost in the divisional round. They've been just the same as Buffalo, and Buffalo has everything that I think you could want to be a good team. This year, they fire the general manager in the middle of the season. They have terrible injuries. They trade away A.J. Brown, and Tannehill and Henry kept you afloat for pretty much the whole year.
Week 11.
I mean, they did. I think Tannehill and Henry did their jobs this year. And that the team, I mean, can Ryan Tannehill win by himself? No. But they traded away his receiver. That's not Tannehill's fault. You got to go get Tannehill a receiver. Derrick Henry, they got rid of his offensive line. They all got hurt or they all left. And so they get rid of his Pro Bowl left guard. They replace him with a guy who's 276 pounds. Derrick Henry still ran for 1,500 yards this year. I'm just saying, like, I think the alternative to what you're saying is I think the Titans are going to stink if they do that.
That's what's called a rebuild. I mean, and to me, I don't know what the objective is. I mean, the objective to me.
Well, do you think Vrabel would survive a rebuild? You've done this. You've coached.
I think Vrabel definitely has some banked equity, without question, from what he's done over the last several years, and he's built an incredible program. But one would have thought the same thing about John Robinson, and look what happened. I mean, the NFL is clearly a "what have you done for me lately" operation. And to your point, I'm going to get a little wishy. To me, bringing a franchise quarterback in here, right now, I like I said, I don't know what the market has to bear. I don't look at C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Bryce Young, and think those guys are going to be ready to play in 2023. Tano, correct me if I'm wrong, has 1 year remaining on his contract.
Yes.
Is that right? So maybe you do. You bring in that quarterback and you say this is the future of the organization right here, and you let him have the red shirt. I think we've established that Malik Willis is not the future of the organization. I've said it many, many times watching him on film and watching his performance that I think he's he's kind of a gimmicky type quarterback. If you want to put him in and have a package for him, awesome. A little running package or something like that, a little RPO deal, something along those lines. That's what I've always thought he sort of was. I think Josh Dobbs has endeared himself to the fan base here by saying and doing all the right things, and the fact that he was a Tennessee hero in college. But I think over the last 2 games, let's be real. Josh Dobbs turned the ball over 4 times, and his turnovers cost the defense played well enough to win. The first half, the Tennessee Titans played well enough to be AFC South champs. In the second half, there were 2 significant turnovers, one which was a direct score, and one where the defense held them to a 3-and-out and led to a field goal that literally cost the Tennessee Titans the AFC South championship. So I think Josh Dobbs is a solid backup, competitive backup quarterback in the NFL, but certainly not a starter at this stage of his career.
Coach Shoop's with us. We will get into some of the phones. We'll get to your text, 615-737-1025. But the roster, not Tannehill, Henry, but the actual guys that we saw. Does Coach Shoop believe that they've got guys that can develop into starters in the league, or do they need to go and look around? We'll get into that with Coach Shoop. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When you want all the
going in and the score, blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the
oh, what a stop! Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is Smashville, we have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? This is Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports, and I want you to add this to your New Year's resolution. Win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds anywhere as we head into the football playoffs. Plus, check out the special odds boosts and promotions at Superbook.com. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come join us before any Preds game or concert at Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy one of our prime steaks. Why Bob's, you may ask? Because at Bob's, we not only serve prime beef, but the top 2% of prime beef in the world. Try our certified Japanese A5 or Australian tomahawks. So come see us at Omni before you go to any game and make sure to ask for Chef Mark. Let's go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willie Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less. than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
On the Friday edition of Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, we'll look ahead to Wildcard Weekend. Plus, what do the Titans need in their new GM? All of that coming up on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
This organization would go the path of rebuilding from the bottom up, as opposed to running it back with the group that you guys have had over the last couple of years with the changes?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a number of things that you could do. We could, there's a lot of, that's those questions that you ask every year, as you construct a roster, as you do a lot of different things. And our goals will never change. Our goal is to have a championship football team. Have fallen short, of that. But we still know what wins. We still know, and we're going to win. But again, there's decisions that will be made throughout the off season, and starting with, free agency guys that we identify, trying to get somebody hired and looking at where we are with the salary cap and all those things that everybody's concerned about.
So the Titans have free agency. They have the draft. Vrabel not going to say rebuild, reload, not going to commit one way or another. Coach Shoup is with us. This is something that I think is pretty important. You talked about how right now in the NFL, all of the assistant coaches are now writing reports on the players, and the coach is writing reports on the assistant coaches, and they're kind of getting their ducks in a row before they start looking at other teams and before they start looking at the draft and, putting boards together and things like that. I want to go over, now that you've watched enough of the Titans, because you've been doing this now for ever since they started losing.
Through the losing streak.
You really started doing it when they started losing. Ever since then, I think you've got a good feel for the team right now. I do. So I would just want to go position by position, and you tell me what you think of these guys. Can they be starters? Can they elevate up into roles? Number one, Dennis Daly. Do you think – I'm kidding. They don't have a left tackle. I don't think they have a left guard. I don't think Brewer at 276 pounds is a starting left.
The left side of the offensive line is a struggle. Even the Green Bay game, which was the very first game I really started in this role watching with you, I remember watching on the very first game and saying, the left tackle is an issue without really knowing much about Daly. And as the season went on, I think he got exposed as a weakness and is a roster player perhaps, but not a bona fide starting left tackle, which, to me, you look through free agency, you look at the draft, the three big names in the draft are Paris Johnson from Ohio State, Peter Skoronski from Northwestern, and one of the tackles from Georgia. So those are the guys right now. And is that where you start? I mean, do you start through the draft there and throw a guy in there and say he's your left tackle, or do you that's the move?
But you think holes at left tackle and left guard?
Yes.
Okay, center. Ben Jones is old, and he got concussed a couple of times, and he might retire. But if he doesn't retire, are you okay with Ben Jones starting at center next year?
Yeah, Ben Jones is a Titan type piece.
Nate Davis is a free agent. Would you re-sign him?
Yes.
Okay. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, the rookie right tackle out of Ohio State. Did he do enough for you to say he's a starter at right tackle next year?
He's the incumbent starter in a competitive situation. I mean, he had his ups and downs, and certainly as the season went on, especially at the end, he had some injuries, but he got exposed and didn't play very, very well at the end of the year. So I think, yes, he's the incumbent starter, but, like you said, anyway, dude, you're in a competitive situation, and let's see what happens from there.
So you'd bring in somebody to...
Sure.
I don't like Petit-Ferrer.
I know you
don't. I don't think he's very good. Burks, do you feel comfortable with him as a starter entering next season?
I don't know what other option you have. Yes, I mean, Traylon Burks showed me enough at the end of the year. He cut some deep balls throughout the course of the year, using them on the reverses, things along those lines. He has some things he needs to work on. Like the things that I note from a coaching perspective are not the deep routes and things like that. It's those intermediate routes, like a curl or an out route, where he lets the ball cross his eyes to catch the ball instead of extending back for the ball. There were a couple scenarios, especially late in the season, on contested catches where he didn't come up with plays that if I were a quarterback, I'd be going, come on, man, you got to catch that ball.
Okay. I don't think the Titans have any other receivers worth. I think they're going to cut Robert Woods, and maybe they keep him. I don't know. Tight end. Do you think? Because I've caught a lot of flack for this. I like Okonkwo. I don't think he has shown enough to be a starter in the NFL right now.
He's a utility guy. I mean, to me, I think the way he was used the last 4 games of the year, where he lined up in the backfield, where he lined up split out as a receiver, where he lined up in an off-the-ball tight end position, those are the things that he does well. But when you think of tight end in the truest sense of the word, where he's lined up on the line of scrimmage next to a tackle, I don't think those are the things that he does well. I think that's why they have a different – when I look at the Titans, I think each of their tight ends is asked to do something a little bit differently, whether it's Hooper, Swaim, Okonkwo.
So do you think they need to have like a true tight end one and then kind of have Okonkwo swing around wherever on the offense?
He's what, as a defensive coach, you'd call him the U. He's the second tight end. He's the off-the-ball tight end. He's the guy who's the on divide zone plays. He's the one kicking out an end. He's the one who leads up on a linebacker, and he can create mismatches if he has a linebacker covering him or safety cover him, and showed enough playmaking ability that he's definitely a piece moving forward.
I would want him, if I were the Titans, Coach Shoop with us, I would want him to develop into a tight end one, but I don't think I could approach next season thinking that he's my tight end one.
Agreed. He's, so in that coach writing up the report on him, his strengths are athleticism, hands, route running, yards after the catch, off the ball blocking. What's he need to do? He needs to get stronger. That's what it appears to me. He needs to be able to if they're going to be a off tackle team running the football, a team that runs powers or counters, things along those lines, he's going to need to be able to block a defensive end or an outside linebacker at the point of attack and continue to work on that game.
Okay, I think we can both say Henry and Tannehill are starters in the NFL. That's not. Defense, Autry and Simmons are starters.
Big-time player. And again, I want to say, make sure, we haven't talked since the Titans' defense was awesome on Saturday night, I thought they played well enough to win the game. I've talked about it a few times where they've played well, but not well enough to win. And the turnovers really hurt, and I thought the defense showed up. Jeffrey showed up. Danico showed up. Those guys really, really played well.
Tier Tart, the DT, he's a restricted free agent, so the Titans could control his rights. I think somebody might give him some money. Are you a Tier Tart fan, or do you think he's replaceable?
He's probably replaceable, but I'd like him as part of the organization. I think he's I think he really played well the second half of the year.
We know Landry's a starter when he returns off the injury. What do you think about Weaver?
Weaver made some play, like we talked about last week. We talked about getting our hands up and batting balls down. He's done that. He does a really good job with some of that stuff. One of the things that I think we've talked about on offense, the things that are synonymous with being a Final Four team or a Super Bowl championship contender. On defense, the thing that we need are D tackles are awesome. They're really good. The inside guy. We need guys coming off the edge. We need more edge rushers. We need guys coming off and making plays. And Weaver has shown some of that without question, but I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. But I do like Weaver. I think Weaver's a playmaker.
Can he start opposite Landry next year? They're going to cut Dupree. So Landry returns off the ACL, and Landry is a legitimate starter in the NFL. Can he start Weaver opposite next year? Or do you want to get somebody else to start outside and maybe battle with Weaver for that spot?
I'd agree with that.
Or use Weaver for third down?
I'd agree with that. It's not the petit frere, but it's because I think Weaver played well. But I think it's hey, you're the incumbent, but we're going to bring in a guy to compete with you, and we need depth. I'll say it again. You watch the Titans defense played really well, but did they create the turnovers? Did they make the sacks that Arden Key, that the group up front for the Jags did the other day? Those guys came off the ball. When you watch the Eagles play against the Titans, they just put guys out there who just ran by tackles and put great pressure on the quarterback all the time. We need those guys to do that better on the edge.
Inside backer, Cunningham and Long Jr. Well, they're going to cut Cunningham.
Yes.
Long Jr. is a free agent. Monty Rice is a third-round draft choice. I'm not a Monty Rice fan, but what were your thoughts on him?
I like Rice. I like Rice more than you like Rice. We've had this discussion before. I like Long. Long's a good player. I like Cole. And Gibbons.
But Cole's not a starter in the
NFL. No. I didn't mean it like that.
Long's a starter.
I agree. And I think Rice is a starter. I do. I think Rice is a bona fide starter in the NFL in this system. And I think Cole and Gibbons showed their mettle towards the end of the year in their opportunities.
What defines for you a starter? Like giving that title to Monty Rice and saying, I think he can start.
Defense is a little bit different to me in that I think it's not like quarterback where the quarterback, if there's 60 snaps in the game, plays all 60 snaps. I mean, these are situational guys. They do different things. There's different packages, things along those lines. And I think Rice and Long and Cole and Gibbons showed me enough during the year that I think they're bona fide NFL players. Do I think they're Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher? No. No, I got you. But I think those guys are good players who understand Coach Bowen's system, and he did an outstanding job working with them this year.
Okay, and when I ask these guys, my real thing is, do you feel confident about them starting next season? Christian Fulton.
He's a starter, yeah.
Roger McCreary.
I put him in the same category maybe as Weaver and Petit Frere. I mean, I think McCreary has ability, and they've made an investment in him. He was a second-round draft pick, and he had his moments, both good and bad this year. The interception against the Chargers is the one that we're all going to remember, but he had a lot of penalties, got beat a lot. He played a lot of off coverage. They did things to protect him. I've said all along my biggest concern with the defense is they don't have game changers at the corner positions. They don't have shutdown corners where some other teams just have a shutdown corner. I said the other day, I said the one thing Dobbs can't do is throw at Tyson Campbell. And he threw at Tyson Campbell one time, and the ball got intercepted. So, I mean, we don't have that guy right now. And McCreary and Fulton are both upper-level NFL players, but I don't think they're elite-level players.
Was there any other corner that you saw? Because Elijah Molden was hurt when you started doing this. I think right now they pencil him in as the nickel next year. Was there any other guy that played corner for the Titans this year that you felt good about?
I didn't see Farley. Farley was hurt by the time I really started studying the Titans.
He sucks.
But we've invested in him. He was a first-round pick. I mean, so there's an investment there that we've got to bring him along. My concerns with him are more than his ability, his durability. I mean, the guy he didn't make it through college. He hasn't made it through a season in the NFL thus far. Avery and the rest of those guys out on the perimeter, just okay. I think it's whether it's technique, whether it's fundamentals. I mean, they made a change in the secondary coach, or whether it's style of play, or whether it's them knowing what the strengths and weaknesses of the players are and putting them in a position where they don't hurt the team. That's we need more pass breakups, interceptions, things along those lines out of the guys out on the perimeter.
And then Byard and Hooker.
I mean, Byard and Hooker are definite starters in the NFL. I mean, and Byard, especially the last couple of weeks, really showed the leadership and the veteran presence that he is, and just established himself as a true Titan, I thought. And Hooker's obviously a very, very talented and very, very good player and has a bright future.
Is there any player that we didn't talk about that you think off the top of your head? I want to make sure that we mention him in the plans going forward.
Yeah, on offense, and again, I think the guys who caught my attention at the end of the year, weirdly, were the backup running backs. I think Hassan Haskins is going to be a very good NFL running back. I think Chestnut and Ward showed that they could have a role on this team in some way, shape, or form moving forward. On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Kalu, he made some plays on occasion and caught my eye. I'm not a big Maben fan. No, I've said it before. I think the front seven for the defense on the Titans is really, really good and has a really good grasp. And when I say front seven, I probably could put the safeties in that too. When I watch Byard and Hooker and the guys play back there, I think, and Adams, I mean, those guys are all pretty solid players. I don't think Adams had a good game against Dallas, but I think those are solid players that caught my eye and I thought played at a fairly consistent level. My biggest concerns are just guys out on the perimeter, shut down corners out on the perimeter, a slot corner maybe. I've heard people say maybe McCreary would move inside and be an outstanding player there. But those are the guys. I mean, we talked about receiver, that's a concern. I wouldn't say, any of the, not Woods, not Kene Westbrook, anything of those guys. I mean, those guys, no. We talked about everybody.
Coach Shoop's with us. All right, Mel Kiper Jr. thinks that Will Levis reminds him of Troy Aikman. Clearly, I saw that reaction right there. Coach Shoop does not agree. We'll get to the quarterbacks and that 11th pick. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for the MTSU Blue Raiders is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Every touchdown.
Yes, touchdown.
Every three.
Free ball, yes, sir.
It all lives here.
Middle Tennessee.
You can also hear the Blue Raiders in the Borough on 97.5, Middle Tennessee Athletics on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for their e-club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/peaks-club to get started today.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The Dominique Foxworth Show.
I believe that most quarterbacks and probably more players are failed than the players themselves not being good. It's the coaches in the situation failing them. I was just thinking that we should start the Shanahan test or the Andy Reid test. When we start talking about players stink or players are bust, especially offensive players, just ask yourself, what would he look like in San Francisco or in Kansas City?
Check out the Dominique Foxworth Show anywhere you get your podcast.
We're Cromwell Media, and if you work here, you're family, and that means a lot. Dagwood has been our morning host on 102.9 The Buzz for 24 years. For Christy Maffett on our sales team, that means 23 years of service. Haley St. John, also an on-air talent on 102.9 The Buzz, is celebrating 10 years. Shannon Sanders, the architect behind 102.1 The Ville, joined our team 5 years ago. Charlotte Simmons, who works on our corporate team, has been with us for 3 years. Want to be part of our amazing Cromwell family? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Who's the best NFL comp for Levis, you think, Mel?
The way he snaps it off from the ear, Max, I'll go Troy Aikman. By the time we get to late April, he's going to be in the mix to be the number one pick overall. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Will Levis, mark it down when we talk in early April. He will be a guy we're discussing very high, maybe number one overall.
Mel Kiper Jr. says Troy Aikman for Will Levis, Coach Bob Shoop.
That's a tough comp to me. I mean, Troy Aikman's a Hall of Fame quarterback with 3 Super Bowl rings. I mean, that's.
I'm not the biggest Troy fan in the world, by the way. Like, I thought Troy was a good quarterback. I do not think the contemporaries of the era, Elway, Young, Marino, I don't think he's as good as those guys.
He had pieces around him that made him pretty special. I mean, he could turn and hand the ball to Emmitt Smith in times of trouble. He could throw it out to Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek down the middle. Yeah, he had no question. I think Will Levis certainly will be in the discussion as one of the top players taken in the draft. But by all accounts right now, the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, the top 3 are probably Will Levis, C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, and Bryce Young from Alabama. As we headed into this season, when I was, in July and August, all the preseason, I was, there could be as many as 20, quarterbacks taken in this draft this year. It's a quarterback group. Again, who's been the most successful rookie quarterback in this? Maybe Brock Purdy? I mean, who was the last guy taken in the draft? Will Levis, no doubt. He looks the part. If we were making a movie on a professional football team, he could probably play Troy Aikman in the movie. I mean, and that's the truth of it. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic. He's all the measurables and qualities that you're looking for in an NFL quarterback. But I come back. How didn't he beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State? I mean, was that a mistake on Penn State's part? Now, he went to Kentucky and in 2021 had an outstanding year with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator. And this past year, with a different offensive coordinator, maybe a different offensive line, certainly didn't have the same type of year, that he had in 2021. There are questions about every single one of these guys. Quarterbacking in this group of quarterbacks for the NFL.
If I were to ask you, is there a franchise guy there in this year's class? What would you say?
I'd need to, in order to make that determination, I think the film's the part of the process, but I think it's all the other things too. It's the FBI, football intelligence, it's the work ethic, it's the commitment. And I can't speak to this about Will because I do know him personally. He is a fine person. If there's a fairly sure bet that he's going to reach his potential, he's got. Now at Penn State, he was more of a running quarterback than he was even a throwing quarterback. He's really worked on his throwing mechanics. They've utilized a lot of out-of-pocket stuff at Kentucky to use his athletic ability out on the perimeter. But I think he is probably the closest to the sure thing. But I'll say it again, I think there's warts on every one of these guys, and I think these next few months, I think, the Senior Bowl, the All-Star games, I think the Combine, I think the Pro Days, I think the individual meetings are probably as important as anything. The individual meetings are probably as important as anything that you could go through with those guys.
What do you make of Pro Football Focus had a mock draft? I'm not a big Pro Football Focus guy, but they had a mock draft, and they had Anthony Richardson in the top 10. You held him, I believe, to 24 points this year at South Florida when he played Florida, and you guys should have won that game and just didn't snap the ball on a field goal correctly. That being said, do you think he's a top 10 pick?
Probably not quite a top 10 pick. He's a freak of an athlete.
I think you're crazy if you draft him in the first round.
I think I would rate him higher than I would rate Malik Willis. I think that he is big, strong, athletic. He can throw the ball a mile. I think he's got to work. There's a difference between a punt, pass, and kick competition and being a pro quarterback. That's what I always worry about. All these guys who win this Elite 11 can throw the ball this far. It was Zach Wilson made the throw rolling to his left, throwing back to his right that put him as the second pick in the draft a couple years ago. There's a hell of a lot of difference than throwing on your pro day and being that guy who could do those things and getting up to the line of scrimmage, calling out a protection, recognizing a blitz, cannon and run and putting it the other way. And those are the things that I don't know about these guys. And I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson doesn't have some of those qualities, because he certainly has unique physical qualities. A guy can run, he can throw. He and Levis are similar in that respect. I mean, they're both big, strong, athletic guys. They certainly don't have the statistical recognition or even the success that guys like we just talked about, that Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud have.
If you were one of the general manager candidates for the Titans and you were presenting to ownership, would you be talking about a quarterback in this draft class to set the future for the Titans? Because they do have the 11th pick, and I think that is a legitimate pick this year.
Yeah, the 11th pick puts you in position that one of those three quarterbacks will I think one, possibly two of those quarterbacks will probably be available. Yeah, I mean, I think you always – quarterback is the centerpiece of everything in the NFL. I mean, you have to have – I mean, if you look in the – I'll say it again. When I watched, Orlovsky on TV this morning, they're rating the 14 quarterbacks in the playoffs because it is the position. It is the prime position. You have to have a world-class player playing quarterback to compete at the highest level in the NFL.
But if these guys are Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, that's different than
That's way different.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going in there knowing what you know about these quarterbacks, would you be telling the Titans, like, hey, I think we can get a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow in this class, or a Justin Herbert? Or is it more like this is more of a Winston Mariota here?
Somewhere in between. And, I don't want to sound wishy-washy by saying that. But, again, I think so much is about those player interviews, sitting down with the offensive coordinator, sitting down with the head coach, finding out all these things. I think there's some great qualities, about Will Levis. I think there's some great qualities about Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young is really, really, his statistics and numbers are off the charts. I mean, better than Mac Jones, better than Tua, better than Jalen Hurts in some ways. But my concerns are about a small player playing that position in the NFL. I mean, we're seeing that a little bit with Tua. And C.J. Stroud, I mean, off the charts. But does he just have better receivers than everybody else in the world right now? I mean, what he did in the bowl game against Georgia was off the charts. Making plays with his feet, making plays with his arm, and I think he definitely, built up his brand in that respect right there. I do also worry about Ohio State quarterbacks and the history they've had in the NFL. I mean, J.T. Barrett, Cardell Jones. I mean, are we going to say Justin Fields is a bona fide superstar in the NFL? He ran for over 1,000 yards without question, and he led the Bears to a 3-13 season this year. So, I mean, maybe there's other reasons too. I understand that. I mean, so, I think that each of these quarterbacks have great qualities about them, but I don't think any of them are surefire guys.
Coach Bob Shoop, as always, joining us. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it. So, Coach Shoop, he's not presenting to be the next general manager candidate for the Titans, but there is something that he suggested that I think if a general manager candidate were to suggest to Amy Adams Strunk and company this week.
3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? You need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete, reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled ironworkers for contractors and projects in Nashville. If you want to build Nashville, you want to be proud of doing it, visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
Welcome to Smashville, home of your Nashville Predators. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Saturday, January 14th as your Preds take on the Buffalo Sabres. Monday, January 16th for Firefighter Appreciation Night against the Calgary Flames. And Tuesday, January 17th against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's 3 games in 4 days, so grab your gold and get ready to cheer on the boys because there's no place like Smashville. Purchase your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair on your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungeredInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The offseason work for the Titans continues to unfold. As the NFL Network is reporting, the team is interviewing their top in-house candidates today, Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort, for their vacant GM position. The Nashville Predators' win streak came to an end last night in Toronto as they fell to the Maple Leafs by a 2-1 final. They are right back at it tonight in Montreal. Head coach John Hines last night on the quick turnaround.
Now it's all about Montreal. You got to put this one to bed, and then you got to be ready tomorrow. It's a short turnaround, but I think that's good. Though our team game's going in the right direction. We'll be a hungry group to finish the road trip the right way. That's what our challenge is, but that's what our mindset will be.
We will have pregame coverage beginning at 5 with puck drop at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. And the NFL announced today that a potential Kansas City versus Buffalo AFC Championship game will be played in Atlanta. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Tonight, your Nashville Predators continue their road trip against the Montreal Canadiens. Coverage begins at 5 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So Coach Bob Shoop said that he would not run it back with Henry and Tannehill. That if he were presenting as the general manager candidate to Amy Adams-Strunk, who you heard in Ian's update right there, is meeting with Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort today, the internal candidates they are interviewing, that he would not be bringing it back with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. And I think there's a lot of you out there that believe the same thing. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't come back with Henry and Tannehill, the next question has to be, what are you going to do? Are you going to get Aaron Rodgers? Are you going to get Tom Brady? Are you going to get Baker Mayfield? What are you going to do at quarterback? What are you going to do at running back? What's your plan? Because if you go into those interviews with Amy Adams-Strunk and her company and you say, we don't have a left tackle, we don't have a left guard, we don't have a right guard, I don't think we have a right tackle. We don't have a wide receiver outside of Burks. We don't have a tight end. We don't have an outside backer. We don't have an inside backer. We don't have a corner. We don't have a nickel corner. And our quarterback is 35 years old and limited. We got to blow it up. you are not getting the job. If she is being truthful in saying that it is a total collaboration between Mike Vrabel and the general manager and herself, you are not going to get the job if you want to rebuild the team. Mike Vrabel, when asked about bringing it back with Derrick Henry, talked about how alignment is going to be the most important thing. He wasn't asked in the question about Derrick Henry about does he need to be aligned with the GM, but he said alignment is going to be the most important thing. And as much as Amy Adams Strunk and Mike Vrabel have brought up collaboration as a big key for what they're going to try to do, it's pretty obvious that they didn't feel, regardless of whether or not this is true, they didn't feel that level of collaboration with John Robinson. Well, if you go to Mike Vrabel and you say, Coach, nice to meet you. I'm a big fan. I think you're a great coach. I think we need to blow it up and lose. I think we need to be the Atlanta Falcons. You're out. Tim Hasselbeck on the Midday Show earlier this week just said there's a reason why Mike Vrabel is not going to be aligned with the idea of rebuilding.
I don't think you have time to tear it all down and rebuild it. You know, as I listen to him talk, while people think that, if you tear it down, all you are doing is getting it ready for the next coach and the next GM. That's all you are doing.
Okay. You think Mike Vrabel wants to do that? A new GM could come in and say, hey, let's rebuild, and we're going to stink this year. Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, he's not getting fired. Nick Caserio, the general manager of the Houston Texans, he's not getting fired. Hell, even Chris Ballard of the Colts, they're picking fourth, and George Payton of the Broncos, they're not getting fired. GMs can survive rebuilding. Coaches can't. So there is no way that Mike Vrabel is going to be aligned with the idea of rebuilding. So if you walk in there, and I have a pretty good idea of what these general manager booklets look like, what these presentations look like, how much they outline what their goals are, what they think they can do, how they would run. Need to rebuild. I know a lot of you all out there think it because I see it in the text line. You go up to her and you say, hey, you know, I see, and the way Coach Shoup said it, I thought made a lot of sense, right? The Titans went to the AFC Championship game. Then they win the division, but they lose at home in a playoff game. But then they go back to the playoffs, and there's all this optimism, but they lose again. And now they don't even make it to the playoffs. And while each season has its own story for why things didn't work out, it is somewhat of a decline from where they were with that AFC Championship game. And that could be rather revealing over the last 4 years of where they were and where they are now. And I think there's a lot of people that could see that and say, okay, this group has hit its peak. They are what they are. It was a great run. We'll remember it like we remember Steve McNair and Eddie George in those days, minus the Super Bowl. But we'll remember it like that. And on we go, moving forward, time to take a look at the next shot. In fact, if the Titans had started rebuilding just a year earlier than they did when they picked Vince Young third overall, Ian, do you know who their starting quarterback would be?
No.
Aaron Rodgers. Because Alex Smith went with the first overall pick in that 2005 draft, and everybody else passed on quarterback till Green Bay late in the first round. If the Titans had decided, you know what, Eddie George isn't here anymore, our salary cap's a mess, we had to cut Derek Mason, we had to cut Kevin Carter, we had to cut Samari Rolle, Steve McNair's older, I know he won the MVP 2 years ago, time to move off, they would have drafted Aaron Rodgers. Instead, they drafted Pac-Man Jones. But I'm just telling you right now, if you walk in there and you tell Amy Adams Strunk, who, again, is looking for somebody that Mike Vrabel doesn't report to, but that Mike Vrabel works with, you have no chance of getting that job. Malik Boyd, Ian Cunningham, Glenn Cook, Rand Carthon, Monty Ossenfort, Ryan Cowden, do not walk into those meetings and say, I think the roster's in bad shape. And I'll be honest, the roster is in bad shape. I don't think it's in terrible shape, and I think it's one or two moves away from getting back to high-end competing shape, just like they were probably one or two bad moves away from where they were a year ago. Cut Roger Saffold, don't replace him with a left guard. Trade A.J. Brown, don't really replace him because Burks doesn't do it. Yeah, got a problem. But that just means you're one or two moves away from fixing those problems, and you're right back to where you were. But, I mean, I just believe because of the power structure and because Vrabel gets a say and because Vrabel probably likes his job and Vrabel probably wants to keep his job, the idea of going to the Titans and saying what a lot of you believe, that it is time, in fact, to hit the reset button, that you are trying to get out in front of it. You are going to do what the Atlanta Falcons have done lately. You are going to do what the Miami Dolphins decided to do in 2019. Just say, screw it. Let's get the picks. Let's be bad. Let's get our quarterback. Then let's go for it. That will not fly in a meeting with Amy Adams-Strunk. Not if Mike Vrabel gets a say. And everything that she has alluded to is that Mike Vrabel gets an equal say, that they are partners. And I am telling you, Mike Vrabel is not going to go for rebuilding. So don't even try. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's get to your phones next. 615-737-1025 as the Titans go searching for the GM. They interview the internal candidates today, and I have to tell you, I do like them. I'll explain why. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's a new year and a new game. Robbie and Rex Road from 6 to 9.
I don't know whether to be proud of you or to tell you to leave the room. Both would be appropriate.
Chase and Michelle from 9 to 11.
Did you look at what the other teams were doing?
That's a player I want to keep an eye on.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace from 11 to 2.
You're the best running back in the league.
That's one you really need to win.
This is the way we were built. And Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman from 2 to 6.
Really the greatest player in the history of the team.
It's your new weekday lineup now on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and NFL Wildcard Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you have to do is sign up with promo code ROB. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. I like the Bengals, Joe Burrow and company, to take down the Ravens on Wildcard Weekend, but you can take it any way you want to take it, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ROB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Is that a horse?
Actually, it's a wild stallion.
Since Navy Federal Credit Union's Platinum Card made it easier to tame our holiday debt, I wanted to see if I could tame something else.
Uh-huh.
Help me saddle up. I need to pick the kids up from school.
With a low intro APR on balance transfers, the Platinum Credit Card lets you take control of your debt. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/Platinum Offer. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do you think that the internal candidates right now, the incumbents, do you think they have any real shot at getting this job?
I think so. I mean, look, man, Ryan Cowden as a GM brought in who? Josh Dobbs. That right there, because Dobbs had them in position to win against Jacksonville.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That right there, that's a plus, a feather in his cap during this trial era. You know, and Monty Ossenfort, I mean, you have to look. He's tenured, right? And he has that Patriot background also. So, yeah, I think they have absolute right to be able to interview for this. And I think they should be candidates, and they are.
There you go. That was TD talking about the internal candidates. So Ryan Cowden, the interim general manager, and Monty Ossenfort. I don't know what Monty Ossenfort's exact title is. Director of Player Personnel. Now, here's the thing. I don't care about titles in the NFL. Because for one team, that can mean one thing. For another team, that can mean another thing. I don't know what these guys do. I really don't. I know Ryan Cowden was the number 2 of the Tennessee Titans, and I know that John Robinson had a lot of respect for him. I like Ryan Cowden. I don't know him very well. In fact, I really don't know him at all. But what I do know of him, I do like. I think he's a sharp guy. I think he's got good social skills, which I think is important for that position, given the fact that you have to kind of keep everybody at an arm's length, but at the same time, you have to do the whole dog and pony show thing. You're the GM. That's just how it is. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't, that I'm sure he's got a decent relationship with Vrabel. Monty Ossenfort is a New England guy. So that's kind of something to circle. Because Ryan Cowden's not. Ryan Cowden comes from the Carolina Panthers, Marty Herney, everything, what you see in Buffalo with Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, that is Carolina. That is that 15-1, Cam Newton made it to the Super Bowl, that crew. Ryan Cowden comes from that. Now, he's been here for a long time, so it's not like he's coming right from the Carolina Panthers, but that is his lineage. Monty Ossenfort was a scout with the Patriots. Floyd knew Monty Ossenfort. They worked together when he was a scout in New England. He was the director of college scouting for the Patriots for a long time before coming here, and there was a lot of talk about Monty Ossenfort being a general manager and that New England had blocked it, that New England had him under contract and they weren't going to let him interview for other positions. And so that was kind of, I think, a rub from what I had heard. A rub between Ossenfort and the Patriots long term, which is why he didn't stay. And now all of a sudden the Patriots have lost everybody. Nick Caserio's with the Texans. Dave Ziegler is with the Raiders. And they've really got nobody there, just like their coaching staff. Like it's Bill and a bunch of, nobodies. And that's why Ossenfort left, was because he felt like I think the Patriots tried to hold him back a little bit. And John Robinson brought him in here. That's what I know of them. Now, there's one little element of the GM search that I find fascinating, which is Adam Peters was a potential candidate for the job, and the Titans were going to interview him. In fact, I believe, other than Ryan Cowden, he was the only non-minority, which means that I assume Amy Adams Strunk met a lot of the candidates that they're going to be interviewing when the NFL's initiative for hiring took place at the most recent owners meetings. She probably got to meet some of these guys. Well, Adam Peters is not a minority, but the Titans still wanted to interview him, and they had been given permission, and they had scheduled an interview. And yesterday, Ian Rappaport announced that Adam Peters was withdrawing his name from consideration. Now, it was kind of embarrassing how Rappaport worded the tweet because it was obvious that it was coming from Peters. But basically said, one of the top young GM candidates out there, Adam Peters, is withdrawing from the Titans and the Cardinals. He has great respect for those organizations, but his focus is on San Francisco right now. Remind me what Adam Peters is going to be doing to help San Francisco win right now. The front office doesn't really do anything at this point. Rand Carthon, who works in the same building, is interviewing for the Titans general manager job, so I guess he's not focused on the 49er run. You see what I'm saying? So what I really want to know is why Adam Peters didn't want to interview for the Titans position. And I've come up with one of three reasons. The number one reason is Adam Peters knows he's getting a better job. So through back channels, through his agent, through John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, somebody has told Adam Peters, hey, don't interview for those jobs. Don't worry about it. You know, we're going to make you the executive director of football operations, and you will have this responsibility and this salary, and we'll promote you. Don't worry about going there. Or another organization has said, hey, we want you to be our general manager. We're not, again, I don't want to say that some of these interviews and interview processes are shams, but I think, you know, we all know the truth. Hey, you're our guy. Wink, wink. 2, he thinks the two organizations are screwed up. You got to be careful when you are considered a high prospect as a general manager or a head coach that you don't take a dumb position with a dumb team. Now, it's hard because there's only 32 of these jobs in the world. And so you may laugh at the Washington Commanders, but somebody's got to do it. And it's always better to be number one sometimes than it is to be number 2. And there's no guarantee. Just like John Robinson got an extension last year, there's no guarantee that your stock will stay at the same level it is right now. But I could look at these two organizations. Again, Adam Peters decided not to interview for the Titans and Arizona. Now, I'm just going to speak to Arizona here. Arizona has no GM and no coach right now. And yet, if you walk into that job, what are you walking into? You're stuck with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is your quarterback. They have paid him too much money. That contract is too big. Yeah, you can get out of it eventually because the cap's fake. But for the next couple of years, he's your quarterback. And he's not even going to play this year. So you're going to lose in year 1 when you take the Arizona job. Number 2, the owner has already told you if you take this job, you have to trade DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I would be fine with trading DeAndre Hopkins, and I'll give the owner credit because he has been very patient in the past with general managers. Coaches, not so much, but Steve Keim got forever, and he never won anything there. But that's it. Like Arizona, you're stuck at quarterback with Kyler Murray, a guy I don't think you can win with. You're stuck with Kyler Murray, and the owner's already telling you have to trade the best wide receiver. And you just lost your best defensive player when J.J. Watt retired. So I wouldn't want any part of that job, which then takes us to the Titans. And I don't know how people view this job. I think there's a legitimate chance that general manager candidates could view this as a bad job. Ryan Tannehill is the perfect amount of good to get you fired. The expectations are so high around here that you can win as many games. If you're the general manager, you can win the same percentage of your games as Bill Walsh won with the 49ers and still get fired. John Robinson never had a losing season, and he got canned. So the expectations are really high. You're not going to have the final say because the owner's already said you got to cooperate with Vrabel. Vrabel, I do not think, is much of a cooperator when it comes to hardline decisions. You've got Tannehill and Henry. Can you win with that in this league? You've got tons of holes all over the place. You traded away A.J. Brown for what you got in Treylon Burks. You look at this job objectively, is it a good job? And I don't know the answer to that. It's 1 of 32. Would I take it? Yes. If they offered me the Tennessee Titans general manager position, would I take it? I would. And as we learned yesterday, I would be good 65% of the time. But I kept thinking about that when it came to the candidate withdrawing his name, Adam Peters. I'm like, why? Why did he pull out? I understand why you pull out of Arizona. Arizona is a gong show. Why you pull out of this one? And do people around the league view this as a bad general manager job? Use Nick Caserio as an example with the Texans. I don't think much of Nick Caserio, and I would say I know a little bit more about that than you do. But at the same time, Nick Caserio was considered a can't-miss GM prospect. And all of a sudden, Nick Caserio took the Texan job. And when he took that job, he thought he was walking into an organization where he was going to get to pick his head coach, and he had a quarterback in place in Deshaun Watson. And then all of a sudden, Deshaun Watson said, I'm not going to play here. So now he doesn't have his quarterback. He took the job. He doesn't have his quarterback. He's trying to convince his quarterback. His quarterback says no. So now he's going to try to hire a coach that Watson would like so he can't hire a Patriot coach because Watson wants nothing to do with the Patriots. Then he hires David Culley, and now he's stuck with a coach he doesn't want. And then Watson gets popped with all these sexual assault claims, and he still doesn't want to play. So then he trades Watson. He obviously didn't care about Culley. That's why he fired him. So now he wants to go hire a coach. The owner tells him he has to hire Josh McCown, who's got no coaching experience. Brian Flores sues the NFL. So now there's a big pressure to hire a minority coach. So he hires Lovie Smith. Now he's fired him, and they still don't have a quarterback. And if they don't win this year, and they're going to have a rookie quarterback, so they probably will lose, probably gets fired. So these GMs have to think about this stuff when they're going out there and they're looking and analyzing these jobs. And I wonder if Adam Peters looked at the Titans job and said, this is not a good fit for me. This is not a good job. I don't know. 615-737-1025. We'll get right to your phones next. I promised phones, but then I got worked up on the GM search. 615-737-1025. I promised to your phones. Plus, the Titans and Aaron Rodgers, it's not back, but it might be back. We'll get into that. Apparently, somebody told me that Adam Peters grew up in San Francisco and is a Niners fan. So maybe Adam Peters leveraged the interest from other people in a promotion with San Francisco. Who knows? 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Phil with Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot. Broken up in front. Give it back to Forsberg. And here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willie Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, Craneworks. The Craneworks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give Craneworks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth moving equipment. Call Craneworks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP extended life oil filter for only $38.99. Go farther with better fuel efficiency. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny.
And we should know, and I assume you saw this, but it's too late to take back your pick.
I can tell you I saw that because I was the one that texted that to you.
Oh, I missed that. I can confirm you texted that to me, and I wrote back, damn, that would be huge. This was an hour and a half ago in my defense. I've been busy.
Listen and subscribe to The Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny, wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's a new year and a new game. Robbie and Rex Road from 6 to 9.
I don't know whether to be proud of you or to tell you to leave the room. Both would be appropriate.
Chase and Michelle from 9 to 11.
Did you look at what the other teams were doing?
That's a player I want to keep an eye on.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace from 11 to 2.
You're the best running back in the league.
That's one you really need to win.
This is the way we were built. And Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman from 2 to 6.
Really the greatest player in the history of the team?
It's your new weekday lineup now on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Mike Vrabel played with Tom Brady. He is absolutely one of the smartest coaches in the league. He knows the importance of the position. And he's now in a conference where Trevor Lawrence looks like a top 5 quarterback.
Yep.
He's in a conference with Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. All the good young guys. And Vrabel is going to get on the phone after this season because there's no dead cap hit for Tannehill. And he's going to say, Aaron, get the F down here. He's going to play to his vanity. Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, I need you. He understands quarterback. Aaron's never had great defenses in Green Bay.
There you go. That was Colin Cowherd. That was just recently. But, Ian, have you been shocked at how all in Colin Cowherd has been about
random, doesn't it?
Oh, and it's been, what, when did we start keeping track of this? December 9th?
That's what this clip says, yeah, December 9th.
So December 9th, December 23rd, last Friday, and this week.
Like, why is he still pushing this? Is he, like, hearing something? Is it just something random? Is he just rolling with it? Because everyone hates Tannehill, and if it hits, he's going to feel like a genius? I'm confused.
I don't know, but Colin Cowherd has been banging this drum that Vrabel's going to pick up the phone. Now, tampering just got an owner suspended, and it'll cost you your first-round draft choice. But regardless of that, Cowherd says Vrabel's going to pick up the phone, call Aaron Rodgers, and say, Aaron, I need you to compete with Joe Burrow. And Aaron is going to say, all right, sign me up for Dennis Daly and Aaron Brewer on the left side of the line. I don't know. Chris is up next. Thank you for calling. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Chris is up next on the GM search. What you got, Chris?
Hey, Jared. This is the first time I called since about 3 weeks to the end of the season. But, yeah, with the GM, I mean, I'm not even sure I would want to be a GM for this team unless it was an upward move. Because when you think about it, and Steve Harris said this, isn't that the Channel 4 news guy, but
it's Chris Harris, but go ahead.
Amy Adams, and I agree, she single-handedly destroyed the season of her own team. And if you remember going into Jacksonville the first time, if we would have won that game instead of giving it to them with 4 turnovers, that would have clinched the division right there.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying. Thank you for your call, Chris. here's the thing about what Amy Adams Strunk did by firing John Robinson and when she did it. I've actually been thinking about this because I do think it would be an interesting topic to discuss about, and I think Joe asked me this morning on Robbie and Rex Road, when we were arguing about should they have fired John Robinson. Now that the season is over, if the season had ended the way that it ended, would you still be in favor of firing John Robinson? Yes or no? And I said no, but it'd be a lot easier to fire John Robinson if you lose 7 in a row and your offensive line was as bad as it was. Now, I think Robinson would have had the excuse of injuries, but the roster does have its holes. And I think you would have had a much better argument for firing him then than when you did. Now, I don't think that if they had waited to fire John Robinson to the end of the season, that they would be in this situation. I think they'd be getting ready to host the Chargers if John Robinson were still the general manager of the team, because I think they would have beaten Jacksonville. That week in Jacksonville would have gone away, and the Titans would have won the division by default. But I do wonder, as strange as that move was, think about all the people that told you all, and I did, and everybody else, that said, what the hell are they doing? And I do wonder if other general manager candidates are looking at the Titans thinking, that owner, she fired the general manager who had 6 straight winning seasons. They were 7-5. They were 7-5, and she fired them, and they didn't win a game the rest of the year. I'm not going to work for that team. Those are the things you have to think of, the optics. I believe this. I think Amy Adams Strunk is a great person and a good owner. I do. Corey Curtis said it, and I agree with it, which was when she made the move, Amy's had 6 good years and 1 bad week. Now, this whole idea about getting a coach and a general manager to be collaborative, I think is ridiculous. I don't think that works. I think it's nuts. But, okay, she's going through that process. But I do wonder if the outside opinion of her changed because of how crazy the Robinson move was. And that's what people know about her. And I couldn't answer that for you. I know Amy Adams Strunk. I like Amy Adams Strunk. People say to me, they're like, how do you feel about, giving all this money for this? I'm like, I'm fine with it. I think it's going to be great. I think Amy's going to do right by everybody. I do like Amy. I do. But I do think that's screwed. I think that's screwed up. And I do think people looked at it that way when they fired Robinson when they did. Ellie's up next. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. What's up, Ellie?
I would love to be GM of the Titans. I mean, easy. First pick of the draft, offensive tackle. Second pick, a guard. Third pick, an offensive tackle. Trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Get rid of Luan. Get rid of Dupree. We have a great defense. Give some of the options. Offense, get a decent offense coordinator. You could be back in the playoffs, close to the Super Bowl. We were close to the Super Bowl last year if we didn't have Todd Downing as our offense coordinator, who was the problem, and it was evident this whole year. Thank you.
Yeah, but then everything that you do, thank you for the call, everything you do has got to be approved by Vrabel now. It's a collaborative process. I still don't think that works in the NFL. Remember when Bud Adams passed away and he left a third of his team to Amy, a third of his team to Susie Adams Smith, and then the other third to the kids of his son who had passed away? And the NFL came down and was like, no. We are not doing a third. Somebody has to own the majority of the team. And they brought in Steve Underwood, and he had to deal with the league, and the league kept saying things like, we're not happy, but we never really got to the bottom of what any of that was about. And ultimately, Amy ended up buying part of the club, I believe. I'm going to say I believe because I'm not sure. I think she bought a part of the club from her sister. And so I do think she has a majority ownership in it. I guess the NFL's happy now. I don't know. But that was a whole big thing. The reason the NFL wanted one controlling owner is because the NFL looks at it like, no. We are not going to have Jimmy make a decision about firing the coach and then Johnny sue Jimmy because Johnny owns as much as Jimmy and he thinks what happened was unfair. Because there will always be disagreements. That is why one person has to run the team. And so this whole collaboration between Vrabel and the GM, I think, is a little ridiculous. Unless, and maybe this is what happens over time, we find out that Vrabel's actually in charge. And that Amy's actually telling these GM candidates, hey, Mike is going to run the team. Now, I'm against that, too. I don't think Vrabel is qualified to run a personnel department. I don't think so. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Texter says, did the owner hamstring the team with her comments about equal footing? What general manager would want that? Almost guarantees an internal hire or outside hire that has a relationship with Vrabel. Now, I don't know what relationships Mike Vrabel has with the guys they're bringing in. The Malik Boyds, the Ian Cunninghams, the Glenn Cooks. I don't know anything about that. What I do feel is that a lot of general manager candidates are probably going to be turned off about having to work with Vrabel in that capacity. You know, there are some places where, you know, look, John Schneider has a lot of power in Seattle, or Brent Veach has a lot of power in Kansas City, but they don't get the final call. Pete Carroll and Andy Reid do. And still people want those jobs. Maybe that's what the Titans envision this job. But as far as somebody who really wants it, you know, somebody who's got a bunch of other options, no thank you. They'll take a job where they get to decide. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Adam Vingan has a hot take about what the Predators should do with UC Saros playing at this unbelievably high level. I am going to make Hal Gill give me his thought on that. We'll get to that coming up next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They're proud supporters of the Preds. You see that Hiller logo right there on that ice. You all know I love Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They've been taking care of my home for years. That's right. That's why I love them so much. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick a prize like a free 55-inch Apple TV, an Apple iPad, a Solo stove, or a Nintendo Switch when you purchase a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems. Or get a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of your necessary home replacements than right now, and to do it with my guys. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. You know I love them. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Al Gill here for my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville, or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet, and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
The Electronic Express New Year's blowout sale is going on now. Come into any of our convenient locations for the guaranteed lowest prices on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Apple, KitchenAid, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, appliances, housewares, gaming, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop great deals in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Centennial offers world-class orthopedic care with multiple physicians at this location specializing in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremities, and other orthopedic conditions. Make better use of your time with Houston Clinic Orthopedics with on-site diagnostic and testing, timely appointments, and easy access to the facility. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Centennial, across from Centennial Park and Centennial Sportsplex, when experience matters.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Titans have made it official. They sent out an email that they have completed interviews with Ryan Cowden, the Titans Vice President of Player Personnel, and Monty Ossenfort, the Titans Director of Player Personnel, for the General Manager position. And this is what I keep saying. When it comes to these interviews, I'm like, what do these guys do? And if I say that, I saw somebody when I said to Joe this morning on Robbie and Rex, I was like, hey, what do these guys do? We don't even know what these guys do. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way towards them. I mean it as far as every single guy who interviews for the job. It's like, well, you know, he's in Buffalo, and you look at Buffalo. Well, what did he do in Buffalo? I don't know. And it's like, what does Ryan Cowden do? Well, he's the vice president of player personnel. Well, what is that? And then it's Monty Ossenfort. Well, he's the director of player personnel. Well, what's a better job, vice president of player personnel or director of player personnel? I don't know. I always get a nice little chuckle out of that. So Adam Vinkin texted me last night during the Preds game. And I don't even know if Adam wants this out there or not, but you know what? I love Adam, and I'm sure he'll get over it. And he told me last night, the way UC Saros is playing, that the Nashville Predators should consider trading UC Saros right now. That they would get an absolute freaking haul if they were to deal Saros. Now, I'm not going to use one game like last night and say that, well, you saw when Saros plays at an even better than elite level against a big boy team, there's just not enough firepower for this team to be able to pull through. Because they played a big boy team in Carolina last week, and even though they shot it 52 times or whatever it was, Saros was good enough to hold up there. So you can make that argument one way or another. But I do think as the trade deadline starts to approach, we'll probably have to have a more realistic outlook of the team. That would be a huge move, and I know David Poyle's not going to make it, but I do think it's fascinating. Hal Gill now joins us on the program. He'll be on the call tonight from Montreal, and Hal joins us. So, Harold, I want to start with this. What did you make of last night's game? Because I do believe that, you know, the team played hard. I don't think the coaches lost the room or anything like that. I mean, these games, they're playing tough. They are fighting to the last second, and they're getting unbelievable goaltending. But it still wasn't enough to get them over the top. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that was a tough game. The start wasn't what they were looking for. It was kind of a sloppy start for the Preds. But I think their game was building as it went on. And hey, that game could have been, 3-1 easy for the Preds. Juice made some big saves, but Murray, I really thought, stole the show. He had that save on Jeannot in the first period, and it's a different game if that goes in. Defensively, I thought they played really well. They just couldn't find a way to get that extra goal. And then, you take 4 minutes
double minor at the end of the game and against a really good power play. And as good as the penalty kill has been, they gave up a power play goal. So, and that's the difference in the game. It's a fine line between winning and losing. And, I think the Preds, when they played the Canes, they were on the lucky side, and then I think they were on the unlucky side against the Leafs. So that's going to come and go, but I love the way that they're in these games. And ultimately, I think they're playing the game the right way. All the way up and down the lineup, they're getting contributions, and I think it's a good way that they're trending.
Hal, are we going to get to see Askarov tonight? I know he got called up on an emergency basis yesterday. Lankinen wasn't. I don't know what happened to him yesterday. Montreal, not very good. If we were going to see the kid, I think this would be a better decision than playing him against Toronto. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think we're looking at a game-time decision. I know that's tough with goalies, but, you look at it, as far as I know, Lankinen is not injured. He was under the weather. Do you want to have him come back? Do you want to have Juice play the back-to-back? There's a tight schedule coming up. So either way you play these guys, you're putting a stress on them. You got a game Saturday, back-to-backs on Monday, Tuesday, and then off to St. Louis on Thursday. So there's a lot of hockey coming up. So this might be a chance for Askarov to get in. But I know they were tight-lipped about it, and they don't want to force a decision, because I think if
of doing at this point in his young career.
Well, he just came off the being an all-star in the AHL. So, obviously things are going well. He's got a ton of confidence. He's got a flair to him and a swagger. So hopefully he can carry that to the next step. I mean, you want to build in the minors, and as a goalie, you can take some confidence hits. So you want to be really well-rounded and go through all the emotions of being hot and being cold, and because at the NHL level, it gets that much tougher. But from what we've seen, a great athlete, a great competitor, and he's starting to round out the technical side of his game. So, obviously, we got deep shelves when it comes to goaltending with Nashville.
Adam Vingan had the suggestion, Hal Gill is with us on the program. Adam Vingan had the suggestion, Hal, that the Predators, if Askarov is the guy, the long-term guy, the Predators should trade UC Saros, get the assets for Saros, and turn it over to Askarov. What do you think of that?
I think that's a play that comes in at a later date. I think right now, I think David Poyle really likes this team and the way he set it up at the beginning of the year. He didn't get the start that he was looking for, but like I said, it's trending the right way. So I don't think that's in his forefront right now, but you never know. There's an offer that comes your way, and I know there's a bunch of teams that would love to have UC Saros. So, I always say, no, that guy would never be traded. And then all of a sudden someone throws an offer and you go, all right, well, hey, let's look at this. Everything's an option. And, I think you were talking about the trade deadline. They got to find out where this team is. Are they trying to make a run for it, or are they going to sell some assets and rebuild? There's a lot going on before this trade deadline. So, Juice is definitely a guy that can, if you're trying to tank, he's the guy that can ruin it, and there's a lot of teams tanking in the NHL right now. I don't think the Preds are one of them, but if they decided to be sellers, Juice does not help them.
Hal Gill, as always, he'll be on the call tonight. Great stuff, Hal. Appreciate you.
All right, enjoy the game. Cheers.
Yep, Hal Gill, as always. Time now for Predators Game Day.
It's Hockey Night in Smashville.
Deflects back for Duchesne. His shot stopped, and the score!
What are the keys to victory tonight? What's being said in the locker room? Where do the Preds reside in the Central Division standings? Jared Stillman has the latest now. With Preds Game Day on Stillman and Company. This is Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tough one for the Predators last night. Predators game day is presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Buying or selling, or even thinking about buying or selling, talk to TJ Anderson. He's my realtor. TJ has taken care of 2 homes for me and done even more for my friends. I have no hesitation when it comes to TJ Anderson. He's the best. If you're looking to sell your property free and clear, ask TJ how he's having success marketing those properties. The Predators are 19-15-6, good for 44 points, still outside of a playoff spot, but games in hand of the 3 teams ahead of them, 2 of which are in wild card position. Montreal is terrible. They are 16-22-3. John Hines has not spoken today as far as the coach's take. We think it's because of what Hal Gill said there about not knowing the goalie, which leads me to my final thought, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. I want to see Askarov tonight, and I want to see him light it up against this terrible Montreal team. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Lankinen. I want to see Askarov. Whatever it is that's bothering Lankinen, I hope he feels better tomorrow. I want to see Askarov. Chase has the pregame. Max has the call. That's next.